Welcome, everyone, to tonight's Midnight Ranting about is there reliable evidence for God? Short answer, no. But won't you join Randolph, Oz, and the Skeptic crew as we dive into this age-old topic? What exactly does reliable mean? Well, using validity as our other metric, I think we can examine a good example. Let's imagine we have 4 sets of bows and arrows. The first bow doesn't hit the target at all, but it does hit the same spot over and over. We could say that this bow is reliable because it does indeed hit the same spot over and over, yet it doesn't give us valid results. Now, the second bow hits the target, but only occasionally. We could say that this bow is valid because it does indeed hit the target, but not at a reliable rate. The third bow doesn't hit any targets and gives no recognizable pattern. This bow is neither reliable because it never hits the same spot twice, nor are the results ever valid. Finally, the fourth bow hits the target every time we shoot an arrow, making this bow both valid because it hits the target and reliable because it does so every time. Thus, what we're looking for in a testable prediction about a God would fit these same requirements. We want a prediction that every time we run the experiment, the results come up Jesus, or whichever God they're proposing. However, unlike bows and arrows, we are never given tangible devices to test out. We're stuck philosophizing about the nature of truth. If prayer, miracle claims, or deities could pass a double-blind study, we would not be having this discussion. Until that time, the skeptic is going to be left with disbelief, watching theists shoot arrow after arrow at a target that we don't believe is even there. Thank you. And so, yeah, I'm going to hand it off to Oz, who thank you so much for being here.
What's up? Sorry, I had to hit the unmute there. First of all, thanks for having me. And first time, Amy, on your channel. So thank you very much. Very grateful. And I'll just say, Gavin, Jesus Christ, Randolph went 2-0 this week. He went 2-0 as far as I'm concerned. But tonight,
thank you.
It was a great conversation. What happened tonight, and at the end of the day, what I see happen in those conversations is when they're here. Let me steal it because he referred to Proverbs, right? And I thought that was very, very ironic that he referred to Proverbs in that debate.
My interlocutor.
Because in Proverbs it says, where there are many words, sin is not absent. And I thought about that for him as a Christian, where there were many words, and yet we still do not have any type of evidence. We didn't have a good representation of what could demonstrate a God or prove a God. Where Randolph doing what he always does, and it's what I love and respect about him, is very patient, very kind, but will every few minutes there's these little debate daggers where it's like, oop, got you, and I was pointing them out to my wife when we were watching. It was like, got him. So I appreciate that debate that debate style. But as far as Tart, if I'm supposed to plug here, am I supposed to plug here?
Yeah.
Okay. So
I'll say hi to Mrs. Oz for me. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. This is way past her bedtime. But Mrs. Oz, she is sweet asleep right now. But yeah, I'm Oz, the host of the Atheist Roundtable, And we do a lot of different things. We have a Tart Live show, which is really focused on interviews, whether that's with atheist guests or with theist guests that we go through kind of a digital format of street epistemology or maybe the Socratic method. We do that. We also have a call-in show on Monday nights. We have the Tart Live debate nights, which is growing and growing and growing in popularity, which is crazy and fun for us. And we're always trying to mix it up. We have the Ozone Show, which is my show. The other folks that are part of our roster are now creating their own shows to spread out during the week, more pre-recorded shows. But yeah, if you want to find us, tart.live is the website, and the link tree and everything is there. And yeah, we'd love to have you.
Woohoo! Absolutely. Thank you so very much. And don't forget to check out Tart Live and their YouTube channel.
Absolutely. And Amy, I forget the exact dates because I'm ADHD, but Amy will be on very, very soon with us.
Yes, on the 24th. So don't forget to check me out Sunday the 24th.
Oh, I look forward to tuning in live if I can.
Yeah. Yes, and don't forget to check out friend of the show, Jim, coming on the 22nd on Tart Live.
Great.
Yeah. Yep.
And so with that, whoever wants to take off next, Randolph,
Go ahead, James. Go ahead, James.
You've been selected.
Okay. I'm not going to, I don't really have a whole lot. Saw a good piece of this debate tonight. It was a good debate. Randolph is a very good, very efficient, very thorough debater. He goes through the issues pretty methodically, and yeah, you don't have any doubt after watching the debate like this that there is no good evidence for God, because if they had it, they would have presented it by now. And we get a lot of these vague philosophical constructs and tropes that, to me, are among the least persuasive lines of evidence that they can present. And to just briefly think of a concept that always helped me is, if you were to imagine the universe, if you're a theist, so how would the universe be any different if there wasn't a God? Can you point to one tangible thing that you think would be different in the universe if it were just pure naturalism? And the answer is, we would get exactly what we see out there. We would just see stuff out there following the laws of physics with no higher purpose, no agency to it, just stuff happening. And that's what we see. And that's disconcerting to a lot of people, but that's reality. And if you want to delude yourself into thinking that there is a higher purpose, that there is something more to that, well, that's up to you.
See, I'm willing to consider the possibility of that, but I want some evidence. And so the kind of evidence that I think is sufficient would be to test drive omniscience and omnipotence for a week or two. I'd prefer a whole fortnight, a whole 2 weeks, because I could get more done. And it's interesting. I had this discussion on Twitter a while ago because somebody had asked atheists, what would it take to prove to you that a deity exists or a God exists? They always go for the male deity for some reason. I go for equality. That's why I use the word deity instead. I try to, when I'm mentioning goddesses and gods, I always try about goddesses first, because I think it's important to be a gentleman about this stuff. But I also know that it kind of digs at people a little bit in their minds, that some people don't like it. So it's good to get these things out and draw them out, as Oz was pointing out, that I kind of do a little bit. And I'm glad that you've noticed that, Oz. The interesting thing with this conversation about these requirements, it was on Twitter. And anybody wants to know, I have it bookmarked. I can gladly share it. Just come on Twitter and ask me. It's fine. They wanted me to cut down the amount of time that I needed. It's like they're trying to negotiate time frame, and I found that really bizarre because they're not saying, no, you can't do this. You just need less time. An interesting approach to take. What? Because they really believe this. And so they're, but I think like if I had something like that, which I would consider to be sufficient enough for me, then that would be good, because what they're claiming is a pretty fantastic claim. It is incredibly at the way upper end between having omniscience, because it's in a free way, you've invalidated your omniscience. So as soon as you use that omnipotence in some way, you've invalidated your omniscience, because now you've changed something. So they bring in free will, but they have a lot of trouble getting through these concepts. So yeah. I'm running an organization called the Canadian Atheists, and you can find out more at www.canadianatheists.ca. I founded it about 7 or 8 years ago, and gradually we've been getting more and more members, and we want to get to a point where we can be better known throughout Canada and hopefully the world as well. Our primary goal is to normalize atheism in the world, starting with Canada, of course. We'd like it to spread throughout the whole world. And people like Oz and Amy and everybody else who's in these atheism communities, there are a lot of people making their own efforts in their own ways toward this. Thank you for putting a link up on the screen. So yeah, we welcome all kinds of feedback. I'm open for what I call the free exchange of ideas. It's a phrase I've been trying to get out in the world. And I think like tonight's debate on modern day debate, I'm very satisfied with it because I really enjoyed the conversation. And I'm going to put this as one of my favorites because Ben was such a nice fellow to chat with. I really enjoyed it.
And Amy, may I say something just really fast?
Sure, absolutely.
Because I think we are responsible to all of us to represent our cause a particular way. And we have to set ourselves apart because we have this stigma and this misunderstanding of what atheists are, what atheism is. And this is not me blowing smoke. This is, I told this to my wife when we were watching the debate. Randolph is the epitome of what we want to represent. Atheism and the voice and what we do and how we display ourselves and how we show atheism to look like and sound like and feel like. And I think that's important that we highlight those people, we highlight those channels or whatever, and to make sure that people understand that this is, folks, this is what it should look like. And this is what it should sound like. So Randolph, definitely kudos to you because you are cool and you're calm and you're patient and you do all those things, and you are what I hope to be one day. And my modeling of what the skeptic or what the atheism community should look like or sound like. And even on our channel, in a really crazy situation with what happened, and even tonight, just your presence and how you conduct yourself, it's a model. It's a model. So thank you, Randolph. I appreciate that, and we appreciate that.
I concur.
Yeah, he's a really good ambassador for atheism. He represents us well.
I appreciate this so much. You're welcome, and thank you so much for even noticing. It's to me, it's so important to present the atheism communities in the most positive and professional light that I can. And I don't do it. I don't think of myself in any sense as being any kind of representative of atheism, because I firmly believe that one person can't represent atheism, because it would be like trying to represent color. Who can represent color? Color is a classification of how we see things in the world in a multicolored way. Reds and blues and greens and yellows, magentas, and on it goes. There's so many different colors, right? there's with atheism, it's again a classification of people who just share one specific trait of not believing in deities, and then everything is all over the board for everything else. And so, if people are going to associate what atheists are, if they're only seeing one aspect of people who are always cracking jokes and always saying things that are a little bit strong worded and whatnot, or joking about eating babies, that's not going to help us as a demographic, I feel. So for me, I don't support things like making jokes about eating babies. I think that's completely wrong. I don't find those jokes tasteful. But as an advocate for freedom of expression and freedom of opinion, I'm not going to try to shame people or discourage them from saying those things. I will perhaps ask people to think about what they're saying with these things and ask themselves, is this really how you want to present yourself? We've taught our kids this, and they do pretty good. They think before they speak, usually, and not everybody does it 100% of the time, but and that's fair. But if we can encourage people to think more deeply about these things and enjoy the freedom that's implicit in being an atheist, because we don't take a position on whether or we believe deities do or don't exist. We have nothing to defend. People try to attack us as atheists, and it's like going through outer space. There's nothing there, empty outer space. It just keeps going. It completely misses the mark, no matter what angle it's going at. And that's what I'm trying to present with atheism. We are free implicitly and naturally, because to me it's just normal to not believe things. So it's normal to be an atheist, and so that's why I'm presenting and pushing this so hard, because I really want the stigma gone. It's not fair.
Just like Oz was saying, even when you can get past even harder atheist stigmas, there's still the angry atheist, just the angry internet atheist. And I think it is important to be as an honest, I hate to use the word good faith, but an honest interlocutor as one can be, and just come with this with an open mind. I notice that the people who come into a lot of these debates looking to destroy the other opponent, they're the ones who very quickly get their heat, steam coming out of their head. And so the whole point is just, let's see if we can come in here, have a discussion. And Randolph, I think you were very good at that tonight. You said, the one thing I have written here is, once you, like you were saying, once you went into trying to be God, I feel like you really threw him off weight. He was like, what do you mean? What do we try? Why are we even trying to be God? You're like, no, let's probe this. And I think,
was that in the debate or the question period? I remember something came up in the question period.
But you were definitely, once you were going into multiple Big Bangs, and just, once you were probing him in a whole bunch of different areas, just very gently, you could tell these were getting his gears going. He was not even sure if you should be asking those questions. He was like, ooh.
That seems to me like a good enough question to ask if we shouldn't be asking.
Yes, absolutely.
When it comes to these kind of debates, I mean, yeah.
And if I may, there was in the first portion of the debate, I remember telling my wife several times, I was like, no, Randolph, quit answering the questions. You need to be probing him. He has the burden. Why are you taking the questions? But then it flipped on him. But he got to then it flipped on him, and then it looked purely genius. Whether you did it intentionally or not, it looked absolutely fucking genius the way it played out. And there was several times where, as soon as questions were asked, he was like, I call it the yabba dabba doo, and it was genius. So whether it was intentional or not, it was genius.
Well, I don't really have a master plan when I go in, but I try to explore based on what the other people are saying. So the topic flows as well, and it's interesting for the audience. my goal is a couple of things. When I go into debates, I really want for my interlocutor to show me that I need to change my thinking. But they're going to have to work for it, like in the sense that it's going to have to make sense, right? Not just say, "Oh, you should just read the Bible." Give me something that is a really good justification for that, instead of just advising me to do it. So, and then
That's the thing. Oh no, go
the
ahead.
conversation will hopefully, I think, get people in the audience who might side with my interlocutor to also consider doing that, or who side with me to also consider doing that. So go ahead, James.
I was just going to say that's part of the freedom that we have as atheists is we don't have to pretend that we believe in things that we don't really believe in just because it's arbitrarily handed down to us. We get to only believe the things and profess the things that we think there is good evidence that we believe. It's an amazing freedom when you come out of theism.
Well, you can
You
hear
get to
at
be true
one
to your
point.
conscience.
Well, I
he-
think
Yeah.
you hitting a very important factual point. There's also a situational component that needs to not be overlooked. Sometimes people can't do those things because it can be a threat to their employment. It can be a threat to their lives, depending on the kind of environment they're in. So that needs to be taken into consideration. But factually, you're right on the mark.
I also like at one point, maybe this was me putting it in there, just thinking you're so awesome, but I could almost hear him be like,
I want to hear some bad points too, but okay, carry on.
But I think he made one point. He was like, I'm not doing somersaults. Or like, he made some sort of comment like, all of this is not actually a somersault. And I'm like, oh, okay. Hey, you said it, not me. So I was like, okay.
Yeah, I don't remember the word somersault coming up, but I do remember saying that there was...
Or gymnastics or something like that.
Yeah, I don't think I would have called it mental gymnastics.
That might just be me.
Yeah, a lot of people do that.
Watching him do mental
But
gymnastics.
I did tell him, I think at least once, that all this stuff he was saying does not address the subject. Like, he was trying to turn it into my requirement for sufficient evidence is addressing the axiom, but it's not, because the topic was not about the axiom. The topic was about the reliability of the reliable evidence.
Oh.
And so by turning it to an axiom, that puts it onto his stage, onto his territory. And then that puts me at a disadvantage, and I wasn't going to let that happen. It's a strategical thing. And it's a very smart strategy on his part, because it will work with a lot of people. A lot of people get fooled by that.
Shove that burden of proof.
And the way you your pivot on that though was brilliant. I again, it was one of the things that I called out when I was watching in my living room. I was like, there it is, right there, boom. Because you're like, no, hold on. You're talking about axioms, but there's a lot of people that believe this, and it's much bigger than just the axiom to them. Like, this is their creator, this is their savior, this is the creator of the world. And you're just trying to minimize it down to an axiom, a 2 + 2, or whatever equation. That was, and I told my wife, I was like, that was the grand slam right there. To me, that was the grand slam. You just tried to minimize the creator of the universe down to an axiom, which could be as minimal as 2 + 2.
Yeah. I guess using an opponent's arguments against them, against their arguments, is not easy. The opportunity doesn't come up very often, but when it does, it's a wonderful thing if you can make use of that. So,
yeah, that one was,
and that one worked out really well.
Sorry, I've been talking, James. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Get their foot in the door, and with that little axiom, get that little bit of space, and then they're going to just move in and start unpacking all these other concepts and baggage that they bring along with their axiom. It's not just the axiom; they have a whole theology that they have to bring in to try to make it make sense, because it doesn't really make sense straightforward.
But the important thing about using somebody's own arguments against their arguments is that we want to show that there's a problem here that needs to be discussed. It's not to trick anybody or anything like that. It's more to say, hey, look, do you see how this argument is successful in both directions? Instead of saying this is a failure. Because if it's successful in both directions, then it needs refinement. It needs clarification. Let's do that. Let's get things a little more specific now. That's what I'm after when I do that.
Or if you could take it to an absurd notion, which is generally what you're doing when you flip it. I have people who say we should believe everything until it's proven false. And I'm like, well, fine, then I'm your saver, right? Because you can't disprove that. And they're like, you know what? Maybe I should put some asterisks on that very quickly.
And you know who was masterful at doing that? Taking things to absurdities? Christopher Hitchens.
Yes, absolutely.
He was so entertaining when he did it.
Hitch was the king of reductio ad absurdum. He was the king.
And he did it with metaphor. It was beautiful how often he did that with metaphor.
Oh my God, he was a master at it. Yeah.
He was a wordsmith, that's for sure.
I miss Christopher. And I'll tell you another thing that I knew was going to happen. That the topic was specifically Christianity, but they always become deists so fast. It's amazing how they become the most unspecific, vague, like Oz was saying. We're just an axiom at this point. God has become this nothingness so quickly.
I push in the other direction toward getting them to consider polytheism. And why is it only one deity? Why can't it be multiple?
Yeah.
And a lot of them will reply with, if it's not omnipotence, if it's shared. Well, why not? If they're equally powerful, they could still be both omnipotent, right?
If God can be three and be one, then
there you go.
They can do whatever he wants, right?
And
logic doesn't have to make sense. It can be whatever. He's God.
I didn't think to tie that together. That's a very good point. Thank you. That's actually really good. Because he did mention the Trinity. You're right.
He could be three and he's one, but yeah.
Oh, let's not start on the Trinity. Jesus.
Okay. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, kind of a sore spot for them.
And deism is a more specific subset of theism. It is, and deism, all the deists I've encountered, the vast majority are one deity. Very few of them are multiple deities. But if you believe there was a deity, or you believe there will be a deity, or you believe there is a deity, but it has nothing to do with us, you're not an atheist. You're a theist. It's very simple. And so deists are theists. There's a lot of people have confusion about this point. It's very clear to me that that's what that is.
Yeah, they still believe in a creator. Yeah,
at least one. Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, many
theists, and
even if they go away, they don't have intervention anymore. They still believe it.
And there's two camps of these deists. I find big divide. About half of them, I find, believe that the deity died at some point. The other believe the deity is still alive and just, for whatever reason, is no longer interested in us.
Well, but by definition, just look at it by definition, it's that they created and they go away. There's no intervention.
Yeah. Now, the reason for them going away is either they're still alive or they've died and that's why they've gone away. Yeah. That's the two camps that I find are pretty big in deism. And I've even spoken with deists who disagree with each other on this point. It's like, how do you know either one of these?
Well, but just furthers the point of the atheist is y'all don't know what you're talking about. Y'all don't even know what you're talking about.
Making it up as they go along.
Yeah, just not believing it. Yeah.
They're just ad hocing it as they rework their theory as new information comes up.
Yeah.
You know what? Because here's what we all know: is that God works in mysterious ways.
Oh,
and his ways are much higher than ours.
If there was some way that I faltered in this debate, I would like to get some feedback on that too.
Anybody in the chat see anything?
Randolph, I'll tell you, the only which I already said. But you know me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be
the only
honest
thing
all
I'm
the
missing,
time.
we haven't sat around for drinks and pizza yet.
Yeah, but you know I'm gonna be raw and real all the time. The only thing is in the first quarter or third maybe is I felt like you were too kind to be like, no,
Not to
question
make a
me,
joke about that.
question me. When I was like, no, hold on. He's making the claim, Randolph. You go after him. He's got the burden. And there was a couple times I said that, but then, like I said, then you kind of flipped it on him. I was like, oh, maybe that was a little bit of genius there. I don't know, but that was literally my only critique was don't take the question first. Like in an open discussion, don't take that question. Make him answer questions.
Because they want to ask questions. They want to flip it. They want to flip it to like, how do we even know about truth? How do we not know that we're not brains in vats? But like, do you think the Matrix is real? Is that what you're here to prove the Matrix, or do you think a rabbi came back from the dead?
Which one?
It's an unfalsifiable. It's unfalsifiable, just like their gods. So.
Some people get
Yes.
so annoyed by the Matrix idea, but it's just a popular movie. But it is philosophy. It's an interesting thing to think about. So I hope you like the joke about the vat that I made.
Yes. You should always
have
make
a brain
jokes.
in a vat on top of your head. Yeah.
So,
but I mean,
it's
Randolph. He was just like, look, I've got so much evidence on my side. I'm just gonna take the burden. I'll let you kind of probe me, and then I don't want to beat up on you too bad.
there was a debate one time. I was chatting with somebody, and they talked about there's no such thing. It was Zach Seckler, I think is his name. He's a real nice guy. He runs an organization called Adherent Apologetics, and I like him. He's we first met on Modern Day Debate, and he he's been studying hard. But the interactions with him I always like, and he's had me on his channel. He normally interviews theists, so he had me on to talk about atheism. It was great. But I think it was a discussion with him, and he gave an example how there's God could not create a married bachelor, and I think I joked and I said, if I could prove to you that there is such thing as a married bachelor, would you acknowledge that I am somehow maybe more powerful than your God in some way? And so he didn't want to do that, but he did say, okay, go ahead. And I said, a polygamist with one wife would be a married bachelor. Because in order to be a polygamist, you need to have a multiple, right? You have 2 wives or more, right? So if you only have one, you're both married and a bachelor at the same time. It's for that second, yeah.
Now I'm so Randolph. I used to be a swinger. Now I'm so confused.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah.
Well, what I've heard these theists say is they'll just say, "Oh, he's not all powerful. He's just maximally powerful. He's not all good. He's the maximum amount of good that it could be. He couldn't make a rock so big he can't lift it, but anything that's logical or he can do."
Sounds like they're trying to make Pop-Tarts. It's the maximal amount of daily God that you need for the day, as we could fit into a Pop-Tart.
Okay, everybody drink up, because she just mentioned tarts.
That's true. Tart Live. And actually, I have a point, because he brought up two things.
I'm going to present a square circle just for the fun of it. I think I figured out how to do it too.
You should make that and then have a picture that says, "Where's your God now?" It should be that exact caption.
I said on tart that I'm going to do that, so I better hold up to this.
Just put a little cross in the middle, just to throw a bone to him,
or a pentagram, or both. So he said the Matrix world could not be eternal, and atheism can't be true because life is outside of that simulation world.
Well,
he was like, because of it, atheism isn't true.
Atheism isn't true or false. And Dr. William Craig has not learned this yet. But the other part where he's saying the Matrix could not be eternal, I guess it does require electricity because it is very technological. So,
well, but can I just say something? Here's the thing, and I said this a couple times in the chat. When we have to like do all the hula hoops, and we have to do all the gymnastics, and we have to do all the word salad, yummy, yummy, like we have to do all that shit just to try to not prove, but at least try to demonstrate that a God might be real or exist. You already lost me. You've already lost me, because I am I love the higher level conversations, but at the end of the day, when we're talking about people's lives and their eternity, like it needs to be able to then correlate to those that are not educated, right? And they need to be able to understand those things. So now we break it down to just a common sense level. And if you have to have all of this shit to understand that a God exists, guess what? Your God probably doesn't exist. It's simply that you want it to exist. You've now convinced yourself through the word salad and through all of the philosophy and all the other bullshit that your God exists. He probably isn't real.
100%. In fact, my common joke is, if you were to go into like a store and they're like, it's $7 for everything you just bought, and you're like, what is $7? What is the mind? What is truth? They would kick you out of the friggin' store. We don't have to play this game anywhere else.
yeah.
Yep.
I'll just mention salad, so I've got a picture to share here.
And what?
Dun, dun, dun.
It's a Caesar salad with a knife stuck in it.
There was so much Caesar word salad. I like Ben. He's a very nice guy, but
And this is going to sound biased, and it probably is, because my wife and I are both atheists. But during the opening statements, obviously I love, like, we host debates on our channel. So I love debates. I love listening to debates, no matter what channel they're on. I love listening and learning. She's the one where it's like, if I'm listening and we're hanging out, then she'll listen. But she's not going to go do it in free time like I do.
You have the passion for it.
Yeah. When she was getting off work, she was like, "Hey, what are you gonna do tonight?" And I was like, "We can have dinner, do drinks, whatever. But I want to watch Randolph's debate tonight." She was like, "Okay, cool." And we were listening to it in the living room. We had it up on the TV, and as Ben was his name, right? Ben,
yeah, I just trying to remember his last name, but yeah, Ben.
I forget his last name, but yeah, Ben.
Yeah, but Ben.
I can get that for you in just a second. I'd like to have his name there, because I think that's important. That would be Ben Fisher.
Nice.
Okay. So as Ben Fisher is going through his opening statement now, and this is from somebody that doesn't, other than just supporting me because I'm her husband, she doesn't really give a shit about any of this. She's listening to Ben. She's like, "What is he saying?" Like, if he was trying to convince me that a God exists and that he loves me and I should give my, like, I have no idea. I have no idea what he's talking about right now. And then as soon as it shifted, and then Randolph started talking, she was like, "Oh, like, cool. I can listen to this. Like, this makes sense to me." And it sounds.
I'm simple that way.
Well, that's a huge key, Randolph. That's a huge key in that. Is there were all of these words. Like, there's things, and I've been doing this for however long, and it was like, I'm used to these arguments, and there was points he even lost me where I'm like, what the fuck are you even talking about right now?
Like listening to Tangelo ramble.
Yeah, probably worse.
Worse.
And I think I know why that is. I think it's because the atheist and theist has two different goals. I'm extremely biased, but the theist, in my opinion, is there to sound technical, and the atheist is there to convey information.
Right.
And those are two
Bingo.
very different goals.
Bingo. Amy, you just hit the nail on the head, because when when my wife said all that, how that after Randolph's opening statement was done, we briefly discussed it. It was and we talked about it because we both understand communication. We both have done that in our professional lives. There's the communication and trying to convince yourself that you're right. Then there's communications trying to help other people understand and educate them on things that they may or may not be right on. Right. So there's a different form of communication there where it's like, okay, I believe that I'm right, so here it is, versus this is what evidence has led me to believe, but I'm willing to be wrong. Let's help each other. That's a totally different approach than just I believe this, so you should believe this. And I think how that came across.
Yeah, me and Amy, when we prepped for our debate with Maddox and Smokey, we went through a lot of that, and we knew ahead of time what they were going to try to do. They would try to get into deism. They were going to try to muddy the waters and use really technical jargon, and hopefully talk over the heads of the audience because they won't understand it anyway. But it sounds really good.
That's not fair to the audience, though.
No, it's not. But that's a thing that they do on a regular basis. It's a tactic. And but then when you talk to them, when you actually get to find the reason, like what convinced them, what made them feel so connected and so compelled by this religion, it's different than what they're presenting as arguments. They won't talk like they were convinced by these vague philosophical points. It's something that, it's an anecdotal story usually that only applies to them, that there's no way to really make that mean anything to anybody else,
That's interesting because there was, in the Q&A period, someone asked him why he believes, and it was boiled down to a personal experience, as I recall.
That was me. I was like, explain, because that's what I find. I knew he was you weren't going to even explain Christianity at all. I think you laughed because you heard it. And I was like, explain why you're a theist and specifically why you're a Christian.
Yes.
I barely even remember his trying to pay attention.
And James, I know this is our first encounter, but I love you.
Well, thank
you. Because that's, I remember, again, I remember telling my wife, because she's not used to the debate stuff. And I was like, through that whole, I know it was 10 minutes. It felt like fucking 3 hours, but he was going through his the Christian was going through the opening statement. I was like, oh my god, it's just words and words and words and words and words and words and words, and I have no idea what you're talking. And I actually have a very, very good understanding of what you should be saying or what you might be saying, but I have no idea what you're talking about right now. And I told my wife, I was like, here's the thing. Is those that come into these conversations that just want to sound smart and want to sound like they know what they're talking about, this is what happens. And I don't know, but he can be a great guy, but that's very much what it appeared, or I'm sorry, what it sounded like was, I'm going to posture myself with all of these words and all of these things. But I told her, I was like, once it gets down to the open conversation, then you actually have to define. And you actually have to support all of those things you just said. And then once Randolph very systematically and methodically started to break it all down, it didn't make sense. Like it wasn't relevant anymore. So all of those big words now got reduced and minimized to really a lot of nothing at the end of the day. And that what was beautiful about it.
In fact, to piggyback off that, I remember his opening speech. A lot of it was going over my head, and I was like, okay, where are we going with this? And the moment my brain tuned in was when he's like, and that's why I'm not going to present evidence. That wasn't his exact words, but it was like technical, and we presuppositionalists don't present evidence. Technical. It's like, in between there, did you just say you're going to preach and you're not going to present evidence?
Yep.
Evidence is a triggering word for them. That's a soft spot.
Yeah, it's and that's where I have 4 biological children and 2 stepchildren. So I know children cartoons and shows very well. But it's funny when I hear people go on tangents like that. That's where that from the Wiggles. My kids watched the Wiggles growing up, and it was like they did this fruit salad, yummy, yummy. And now I turn it into for the atheist, word salad, yummy, yummy.
That's where you got that from. Okay. I was wondering about that.
It's like you just keep stirring that bowl, man. Keep stirring that bowl, because guess what? At the end of the day, it's still just word salad.
It is a whole bunch of word salad.
It's really only going to convince the people who are desperate to be deluded, who are just willing to accept anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Amy, I know, or I believe you believed. You believe. I believe that you're bringing other people on the stream. But before we do that, can Randolph and I talk about the what happened on Tart the other night?
Absolutely. That's
that
as
okay?
long as you guys are open for it. I am open for talking about anything.
I would love to hear about it.
I guess you heard what I said in the actual debate, didn't you?
I mean, it was a good debate from what I was watching, and then apparently had a show too.
Randolph, you mean what you said tonight?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and I appreciate that. And Randolph, for the record, Randolph and I both have great mutual respect, so there's nothing to be questioned there. But Randolph had a debate on our channel, the Atheist Roundtable, on Monday evening.
2 days ago. 2 days ago.
Yeah, 2 days ago, with a individual, and you can go find out who it is. I'm not going to name it, but you can go find out who it is. And that individual, we came to find out, was doing the debate without
wearing any pants. He was naked from the waist down, apparently. The debate is titled The 10 Commandments, in case anybody wants to make sure they get the right one. I was busy looking at my notes that I'm typing in while I'm listening to what's being said, so I didn't see all the action, so to speak. But early on, I did notice he kind of moved around in his chair, stood up a little bit, and I just assumed that he's wearing like pants that had that were colored like a person's skin. That's what I was expecting. Didn't even cross my mind that there's anything inappropriate going on. It's just I just didn't expect it, you know.
Yeah.
Now, I asked before, do you guys think the possible options, was this trolling? Did he seriously not forget the 1 in a million that he, or what other options? Mental? I think trolling is the leading.
I think it's disrespect after I've considered some additional information. At first, I would be like, okay, maybe his meds are off. If I don't even know if he's on medication, I have no idea. But if it's something like you suggested that he forgot, and he's just so comfortable and didn't realize it, like those are kinds of things I'd normally be willing to consider. But after the debate, he joined a live stream with his buddies, and they critiqued the debate. They're reviewing it, and that's fine. It's like what we're doing here. And then they asked him about being naked from the waist down. They're laughing about it. He laughed about it. They laughed some more. Nobody's saying that wasn't appropriate. You shouldn't do that kind of thing. It doesn't represent Christians very well. None of that kind of talk came up. So to me, that solidifies, even if it's only after the fact, an intention to be disrespectful. And so I did tell Oz afterwards that I don't have any interest in engaging with him anymore in the future. And I remember Oz's response was without hesitation, he won't be welcome here anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been crazy.
He didn't apologize or anything or acknowledge. No.
Well, and I'll So I'll go on record publicly because obviously anybody can find this, and I'll say anywhere and everywhere. I I was producing the whole thing. I was doing the transitions, producing the show, and trying to pay attention to what was going on, because I was watching the chat, trying to make sure nothing inappropriate was going on. And I, at that point, I hadn't seen anything. But then at the very, very, very end of the show, he got up and walked away from the camera, which is when I tried to minimize the cameras, because I was like, "Oh shit, yeah, it's there. There's no pants there. There's no pants there." I've sent emails out to try to get clarification on what happened. I've not received anything in return, and at this point, I do consider it way more than trolling. I feel I feel it's completely disrespectful to our channel and what we've done in our reputation.
Absolutely.
And so he's not welcome back on. And then also to go a step further, which backstage we were talking about this, and I'll keep this brief. But then after the show, Lord, praise Lord, whatever his name is.
Praise I am that I am.
I think is his name.
Sure, there he is. He was doing a live debate review or recap.
The one I was talking about. Yeah,
whatever. And at the beginning, we were still backstage, and I told Randolph, I was like, "Oh, I think I heard him talk about you and talk about us. I'm going to go.
You're going to go defend me if it's needed."
Yeah,
you're a champ, man. It wasn't necessary to defend me, but I thank you. I appreciate you getting on there and fighting.
Yeah, Randolph, you're my dude. You're my dude. And I was like, no. Because when I tell people, before even before YouTube, I've always bullied the bullies. You don't get to talk shit. I'm gonna come after you. If those are my people, and I felt like
I don't belong to you. No.
You know what I mean? Family, my homies.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
And I felt like I heard that, and I was like, no, I gotta go. I gotta handle this. And I went in. Well, the guy that Eddie, that co-hosted with me, that was in the chat a little bit ago, he jumped in there first. I kind of listened. And then I jumped in there, and my whole thing was just to try to see how they would react to me jumping in to the channel, because it was an open feed. Because as soon as Eddie jumped in, they changed their whole tune. They're like, "Oh, the Atheist Roundtable, Oz, they're cool people, blah 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 blah." And then as soon as I jumped in there, and I was like, "Look, I'm not here to debate. I'm not here to talk shit. I just want to talk about the debate, talk about Randolph, talk about Gavin. That's what I'm here for." And then Randolph heard a good part of it. And then all of a sudden I get bombarded again. And it was like, let's talk about this. And 100 million different questions. And it was like, okay, I'll answer this. Okay, I'll answer this. But can we get back to why I came on here? And they just kept going after and after. Yeah. So finally I dipped off. And I was like, this is not what I came here for. And I messaged them, let them know that was literally the last time I will ever fuck with you ever again. And how pathetic is it that the atheists, according to their standards, not ours, according to their standards, how ridiculous and pathetic is it that the atheists are like, "No, we're not fucking with you no more."
Very.
How ridiculous is that?
Amy, please check the private chat messages.
Yes, I'm trying. I think I'm very tempted to just make you a mod, but I'm trying to. What was that, James?
That works too. One thing that's very important here is that what Oz and I are doing is we're not engaging or trying to make things worse. We're not vengeful, none of this kind of stuff. We're just distancing ourselves from these people. There have been a few other people over the years, just a very small number, who I've distanced myself from for similar reasons. One guy engaging in sexual harassment publicly and then getting a public nationwide restraining order 3 days after he had a temper tantrum at me for calling him out for it. And so that one's very serious. And then there's a couple of others. So it's Smokey's not one of them. Praise is not one of them. People are asking I think they're asking who I've distanced myself from, but I'm not going to say who the others are, but it's not those two people.
Have you debated them yet? Give the time. I'm just giving hearts to all the theists.
we've debated with praise. I am that I
That's
am.
true.
Remember?
'Cause
And
he was a
over
gentleman
slavery.
debate. That's the thing. all
And
the
for me,
time.
the highlight from that was they're debating that, like we were saying, our position was that the Bible, the Holy Bible of Christianity, condones slavery, but you've got those guys were saying it does not condone slavery. And then someone asks with a super chat question that would you be willing to be Amy and Randolph's slaves? And then no, you were teamed up with me, so it was somebody else who asked that. So, but
Oh no, I just been pointing to our slaves. Yeah.
oh yeah. So well, and then they said, I remember Matt was the other guy. I think his name is Matt, and he was teamed up with Praise. Praise
Powell,
I am.
maybe?
Yeah. And so Matt, of course, his answer was he doesn't think we could follow the Bible correctly, so he wouldn't do it. But Praise said, yeah, he would, and he'd even taken all in the ear from us for it. And I'm thinking, you've just completely defeated your whole position here by saying that.
He would
Both
be
of
a
them
slave
did.
for life to you.
James,
Both of
didn't
them did that,
Smokey say that
exactly.
to us too?
Um,
They'd both
no,
be our-
Smokey
Yeah.
has
Well, hang on.
defended biblical slavery,
James,
but not like
James,
that.
I just
Yeah,
want to
go
finish. I just want to finish this. After that, I remember my answer, and Amy, you agreed. You added a tiny bit, but it was you agreed with me, and I said I'm an advocate for freedom, so I could never take anyone as a slave. I wouldn't feel right about it. I wouldn't do it, even if they offered. And if I was forced to, I would. And I'm thinking back on it. If I was forced to, I would. My first and only command would be, "You're free. Go away. Do what you want, and be your own person." See, in a sense, when people look up to a leader and try to follow a leader, they're choosing to be weak. They're choosing to give up their own sense of sovereignty in a way. Yeah, we need leaders to run our countries and things like that, but we shouldn't just do what they say without question. We should hold them to account. And I have the same expectation of a deity, if it was real, or deities, if they were real, that we should be able to hold them to account. Otherwise, what kind of life is this that they've created, right? So a lot of ethical issues there. Sorry, James, go ahead. I just wanted to get that out.
Oh, and you wanted to show me the Aunt Jereb about him, Gavin, in the other chat?
We'll showcase it here in StreamYard. Are you able to do that? Ah, here we go.
She could.
Oh,
yeah.
it's not that
So,
one.
Looks like it's
yeah,
a
there you
pattern then. So when I describe what happened inside chat of another live stream, someone in there mentioned they saw him in a different debate topless. So maybe this is his thing.
I mean, that's like kids on the middle school bus, flashing or mooning cars that pass by. That's very childish,
But he's older than I know he's older than me. I'm not saying I'm young, but
but after
Yeah, that's
after multiple things that have happened, and then I was reminded. I won't say who it was, but somebody that I trust. I very, very much trust. I was like, they're like, Oz, just remember this episode on Modern Day Debates, and they sent me the link, and him acting like a complete fucking buffoon when he got owned on Modern Day Debates, and I was like, you know what? Absolutely, I forgot about that, and you reminded me, and that's the nail in the coffin. Like I'm, if I wasn't already good on it, I'm all the way good now.
Okay. Yeah, you've got a reputation to take care of with Tart. You guys have put a lot of work in it, and I'm very happy to see that you take it seriously.
and I can get very heated. You can say various things, and I generally think we should, you're supposed to attack the ideas and not the people, but I think there are certain standards that we can ask for, like wearing pants that
Well, I was getting ready to say,
or at least not showing that you're not wearing them.
Those are two totally different conversations on attacking a person's beliefs versus.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the pants as a two different conversation. I'd say for that you need to get Just Jeff involved.
Yeah, well, that too, that too. But But it's one thing on if we're attacking beliefs and not the person, yes. But when you show up on a platform for a actually structured debate that we've been planning on for like a month, and those things happen, there are going to be repercussions that fall out. That you're probably not going to be welcomed anymore. Those sort of things. So yes, for at TART, we do take our reputation very serious, and we want to provide a channel and a platform and a format where people can have fun, but also get down to the serious conversations. And guess what? If we just let people do that and there's no consequence, nobody takes us serious. So
Right.
it needs to be known that, okay, you did it, but it won't happen again because you won't be here again.
And can I just ask, you're a Christian watching this, and you're saying to yourself, well, I'm really glad that the person who represented me showed up pantsless. Like,
So
what's the ultimate goal? Because if it's to lose Christians and to become atheists, then thank you, Gavin.
I mean, it's a good thing Yahweh wasn't there. He'd have to kill an animal to make pants for him.
to be
Not
fair,
mixed fabrics.
I always point out that there isn't, like, when a number of times Christians have asked me, and a few Muslims have as well, saying, why don't atheists police your own? You need to police your own. I'm against that because we are one of the most diverse demographics in the world. We only have that one characteristic that shares. There's nothing there that says we need to make people apply and comply with different kind of social standards as atheists. That's something that we each have to decide now on our own. Now, if you're on like Tart's live show, you need to conform to certain standards that they have, ethical standards, I guess, and a certain minimal dress code and things like that. I don't think TART needs to specify there's a dress code. It's just a general courtesy thing, goes without saying. You're not going to show up nude if this is just common decency, right? But they're going to have certain rules, like you're not going to be identifying a person's home address online, and things like that, and violating their privacy or doing anything or making death threats. These kind of things, obviously, you're not going to be accepted, right? And other kind of horrible behaviors. So by the same token, I think it's only fair that Christians can still say the same thing as well, because there's already anywhere from 25,000 to 45,000 different denominations of Christianity, from different reports I've heard. So there already is a problem with standards. And so, of course, what I do find is a common denominator with all Christians is that they believe in God. God may be the form of Jesus or the Trinity or Yahweh or whatever, but there's that belief in God. They all agree on that. Everything else seems to be all over the board. So if they say, well, that Christian doesn't represent them because they're doing something different, I can accept that. And I'm not going to hold that against them. So I think it's important to be fair in this. That's all I'm saying.
No, I agree. Totally
Yeah,
agree.
and
That's true. That's valid.
And when they mean police yourselves, they mean Stalin. Isn't that the example that they're really talking about? Like, that's really all they want to talk about is like, remember when Stalin killed the... And we're like, we get it. We get it. Stalin was a bad guy. Who else do you mean police? Well, I guess Bob the atheist isn't too bad a guy on the computer. But Stalin.
Actually, the conversations I've had, it's like, sometimes they call up a workplace and they try to get people fired, is an example that's been given to me. Or that, which I'm opposed to, but not because of atheism, but just because I think it's wrong. And because, and other bad behaviors that they claim are stereotypical of atheists. And so they want us to call each other out when we're doing things like making fun of Christianity or Islam or whatever. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to see what they're really, the ultimate goal, I suspect, is that they're trying to do is to get us to agree and unite on some front so that then they can have an avenue of attack that they can use to try to divide us. So in order to divide us, what they first have to do is get us to unite on something other than not believing in deities, because there's nothing to attack there with not believing in something. I think that's what the big long game is.
Usually they'll go to the moral argument, say atheists have no moral code. How do you know anything is wrong?
Which is
Batman
incorrect
loves that one.
because atheism doesn't address morality. So it's
Thank you.
it doesn't. It's a nonsensical argument.
It is,
Yeah.
but it's all they have.
And
Nothing.
that's
Reject
what
it. Reject it categorically because it's nonsense.
Yeah, and when you go on some of these other channel, and I'll say Praise's channel again because that's what happened the other night. When you do, it's like no, my position as an atheist has nothing to do with these things: morality, evolution, Big Bang. Like it has nothing to do with any of that shit. So quit trying to have this scientific conversation with me when really I would actually love to have a real life conversation with you about epistemology. Why do you believe what you believe?
Yeah.
Let's drill down to it, because to me, all the science and all the other rabbit trails, those are all ways for you to try to wiggle out of actually explaining why you believe what you believe. I want to know why you believe that Yahweh is God. That's what I want to know. And if you don't want to have that conversation, then I'm just at that point I'm not interested anymore. It's not that I don't study. I do study and I do my research, but at the end of the day, that has nothing to do with your belief. Why do you believe?
Well, they're very good at saying what they believe. It's really the why part that they never ever want to explain.
Right.
The fundamental point that Oz is making here is an important one. His interest, he's made it clear what his interests are. He wants to know he wants to get into philosophical, epistemological stuff, topics with people. And I think that's great. There are other atheists who are happen to be very well educated in certain aspects of science, and that's the area they're comfortable talking about. And we all have different interests, and there's nothing wrong with any of that. But you're right, Oz. This is a huge problem. Is they're assuming, you must provide an explanation with science because you can't accept the God explanation, and they're assuming that the only other possible explanation is scientific, and it probably is, but what they're trying to do is twist it and turn it onto us to say, okay, you're not believing me, so you must prove an opposite. No, we're not required to because we're not making a claim. Many atheists don't use science to do anything, actually. Many do, and many don't.
I always said the science that can get you to liberal Christianity because they work their beliefs around all that. But Christianity, it fails on its face. You don't even need the science to prove that it fails. And that's, you go in these streams and they'll be combing through scientific papers that they don't understand, looking for little things in there, nuggets. What they're looking for is gaps for them to insert their God in. They're looking for the God of the gaps. And then
God of the gaps?
No,
James, never.
And they're looking for things that are incredulous. So they're going to say, here's something we don't know, and I don't think science will ever be able to explain it. Therefore, you have to accept my hypothesis about a genie that poofs universes and life out as valid. And no, that doesn't follow. You still have to show that your genie is real, not just that, science can't explain every little thing.
And so I'm just going to make one point, and then I'm going to let Jim in. We'll get a theist in.
Amy,
and
I'm sharing a picture.
Sure.
Jim's about to get destroyed.
Nah, Jim's been in here.
Neil deGrasse
Jim's been
Tyson
in here.
said this.
He's a regular.
He was
God
talking
is an ever-receding pocket of scientific ignorance.
He said this when he was talking to Pat Robertson one day on Pat Robertson's TV show, and it was fantastic.
I like that quote, and I like the other
we're just talking about here.
Oh! Did I just?
It highlights what James was just saying.
There we go. You made me say that all.
I just thought out of existence and back into existence.
I know. I was trying to add Jim, and I clicked. There we go. I
And
think
we're-
that's
Some
sound
quantum
effect.
physics demonstration going on here. This is fantastic.
You're a virtual particle now.
And real quick, James, I know Jim. I was just talking shit. That's what I knew he was coming in. So I was
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
shit.
That particle
I know.
spelled with the first 5 letters Party? I sure hope so.
And I
Forever.
All right, Jim, pass out the Jim Beam. Let's go.
Hello, Jim. Nice to meet you.
Welcome, Jim. What did you think about either the debate or is there reliable evidence for God?
Oh man.
Hell no.
Okay, so the debate. I only call it pieces because it's pretty typical. Either debates I think kind of are typical because I mean I think we've all been exposed to many of them. I think Randolph has a pretty good repertoire of debates, and I think he looks now for how people do things differently versus for the standard line of argumentation.
What do you mean?
I just find most debates. So I didn't watch the debate because I assumed that most of the debate would be kind of typical, and then like a typical
It was more like
line
a
of thinking.
conversation.
Yeah,
I hope if you do watch it, you find it interesting. So
yeah.
was
I
not a dumpster
was
fire.
in bits and pieces of it, and again, like I didn't stay very long because I just wasn't interested
okay,
that way. I liked it, left it, and I was like, cool. But I mean,
that's
I
fine.
still here to support you, Randolph. Like again, I think you're an excellent debater, especially
Oh
when
wow.
it comes to different things. So again, like nothing against you. I just personally, I was like, okay, well, it's probably the same something along the same, and you're probably like it'd be entertaining to see something different. But I did not give that a chance, so that's on me.
No, it's fine. Be blunt. It's okay. I'm okay with all that.
Yeah,
You don't
just-
have to apologize for anything you're saying.
Yeah. So I am drinking some Woodford. I've been drinking for a while. Sweaty Eddie, I was with him earlier. I wasn't trying to pull him in, but I think he said same thing, different day.
Did you say Sweaty Eddie?
Sweaty Eddie, yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Okay.
I'm just trying to play a little bit with the tart intro too because I think it's great. Like again, like the tart community is really good, and it's good to see Amy that this relationship is really awesome too. So, I can't
So
wait. To see what
before I
guys
let you go any further, Jim, we're going to have to put in a new policy. So just making sure that you have trousers during this whole conversation.
see. Here's what I do. Here's what I
How
do
long is this
when I
joke
get up.
going to keep going on for? It really blew up on Twitter, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Here's Jim's theme song. Pants on the ground. Pants on the ground. Jim's got this Holy Ghost pants on the ground.
Yeah. If I have something on or don't have something on, normally I mute my camera. So like when I get up, if I don't want to do something or to show something like what's going on,
Oh, so you know how to hit that button.
that button.
Good for you. Good for you.
Now, if
But
Amy
yeah.
were to do something like that on a Thea stream, they would actually they would actually self-immolate.
Oh, they would-
So here's what I think is interesting, and like I would agree. I mean, it's unfortunate that Gavin hasn't responded. I think to kind of rebuild his credibility. I think that will be an important step. 'Cause as Oz was saying, like, hey, like if he responded within 12 to 24 hours, we understand there's a time gap because he's in New Zealand. I think that could have been rectified. Hey, I'm sorry, I completely forgot. Like I was just being comfortable, and I just or something like that. Like it was a complete mistake. That might give him some more
but
credence.
the problem is how he continued to conduct himself in
I agree. Like I agree.
That
There's
adds
other
context.
things that are other factors and stuff
He's
like that.
taken it
I'm
too
not
far.
going to sit here
I'm
and
done with him.
pretend.
Yep.
I'm not going
Yeah.
to apologize. I just like to say, I like to sometimes give people the benefit of the doubt and say, okay, well, here's your chance. And I think Oz did exactly the right thing. Like, here's your chance. And then it goes on to the stream and gets like bombarded. That's not cool either. I've seen that happen way too many times on any number of Thea streams. I mean, Amy and I have been in many of those streams.
No, that
She's
stream
been
though.
outnumbered.
That stream
And,
though. Bombarding him was, I think, that's up to the person running the stream to take control of that. So I don't blame Gavin for that, but I do think Gavin has to be responsible for his actions and his attitude of laughing about it and afterwards, having had some time to reflect on it, I think he's had more than enough at that point.
Well,
And
you're
then-
dealing with a few different things too. So yes,
Yeah.
Gavin, and then you're also dealing with, kind of this notion of, if you're going to associate with these people, guilty by association. I know it's not what people like to hear, but you don't want to necessarily associate yourself with people who aren't in line with your values, typically speaking, regardless of what their creed is.
And like I was saying, any Christian watching at the Tart stream, they're going to be like, oh, this is the guy that represents us?
Hopefully they would
at the end of
be
the day-
introspective like that, but
At the end of the day, it was a stream. I did not get a chance to see that debate with Gavin. I think when I was talking to Eddie told me about it, and I looked at it. I was like, oh, shit. No, it was you, Oz. And I was like, oh, shit, he wasn't wearing pants. Someone told me something, and I went and looked at it. But it's unfortunate. So
it's sick is what it is.
Yeah.
It's sick and it's disrespectful. I'm calling it what it is.
That's fair. That's fair. I completely agree with you. I'm probably just being more.
The more I'm removed from the situation, the more I think about it. The more disrespectful it becomes.
Agreed.
And not only that, the further removed I become, and the longer it goes without anybody responding, the more disgusting it becomes.
Yeah.
And so this is my statement to the YouTube, not all Christians, but the YouTube Christian community. You're shit. Like nobody, none of you, because all of you run in the same circle. All of you run in the same circle because I watch and I listen, even if I'm in the background, and all of you represent that. And none of you have came up for air to say, well, hold on. Like he did it on his own accord, or that's him. All of you have laughed it off. You gave excuses for it on why it should or shouldn't be okay. So for those of you in the YouTube community that are theists, that are Christians and creating content and are approving, whether it's by verbally saying that it's okay or saying it's okay through silence, you're part of the problem. You're part of the problem.
Okay, so I just want to make sure I'm in the right here, and that wasn't directed towards me.
No.
Okay, I'm just trying to make sure,
No.
because like I am a Christian, I am in the YouTube community.
No,
I'm trying to make sure.
No, Jim, I'm talking about the channels that are established and have tons of people watching them and following them, and they have influence right now. You're still building yours. No, that's not aimed at you or anybody. That's
to be fair, people who are in the sphere of supporting this person.
Yeah.
Also, Jim, you're going to hear this a lot.
Yeah, like it's fine. Like as I've talked to Oz, like I've removed myself from certain areas just because I just don't find it useful, and that community is not a very useful one. So, it is what it is there, or what we make it to be.
All right.
And I don't think it represents.
Can I jump in right here? Because I get sick of typing. Brian Stevens, I don't know if you're like a mainstay here or not, but all you have to do is go to the Atheist Roundtable channel, and it's very apparent there, especially at the end, that he has no pants on. And once you understand what's going on, you'll see it throughout the entire stream. And we were nothing but fair and professional and cool with him. But now that we actually know what's going on, and he joked about it on other streams after the fact, that's why we're even talking about it.
He's somebody who had very little credibility or clout with me to begin with, so I'm not surprised by it. But I never really paid him much credence before.
And you see, this is the second debate with him that I was in. The first one, also on the Tart channel a few months earlier, there was nothing like this. Sure, he was shuffling some papers and seemed a bit disorganized, but I thought he was taking the debate seriously, and I enjoyed the interaction with him the first time around. And this one I did too. He was a little more aggressive in his style, but I thought, and then sometimes he's kind of laughing in reaction to some of the things I was saying. But it's just, that's how debates go. I'm not bothered by any of that. People are free to laugh at everything I say if they want. It's fine. It doesn't help them. It doesn't help their position. So they're making themselves weaker when they do that. So go for it. Laugh at me all you want. But when I found out afterwards that he did that, that was wow. I didn't believe it at first. I thought people were just kidding about it.
It can't be unseen. That's true.
So I mean that's kind of the thing, right, and I think we can all consider agree. If it was like he didn't wear pants or something like that, and all of a sudden like he responded like say, hey, I completely forgot like the window or something like that, fine. But then the adding on to going onto the channel and completely, I guess, not holding himself to a standard in that community, and to a point the community not holding himself to a standard. Is understandable.
Yeah.
Like
being unapologetic, uncaring.
And this isn't a comedy act. This isn't Jackass. There's a time and a place to do silly things. I know that very well. But this is a debate. It's not like I'm going to show up topless to a debate and be like, time for atheism versus theism. It's like, no. What are you doing?
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Mr. Batman would still call you sir. Sir.
What? Sir.
That's the thing. That's the thing when you like if you contact Tart, like we have multiple different like shows, segments, and everything. Like we do comedy, we do serious, we do call-ins, we do debates. Like we have all of those channels for you to practice your talent. Right. If you want to put those things on display, but the one thing we don't do porn. We don't do porn. So you don't
even
get to
though
come,
you have a shed.
We don't get you don't get to come on our channel and show genitalia. You can't come on naked, right? And here's the thing. And I put in my email, and we'll see if I get this. Probably why I won't get a response back. But I would never, ever, I don't care how big, how large, or how small of a channel that I've appeared on, I would never, ever put a channel's reputation or credibility or monetization at stake. I would never, ever do that. And to me, once we got done with the episode and I was able to collect myself and collect my thoughts and not be producing and doing all those things, I was like, that was a complete slap in the fucking face. That was complete disrespect to what we've done and what we're building, and that will never, ever, ever fucking happen again. And I would never do that to anybody. So your little clique, Gavin and Praise and all of you, that's why Tart, just let it be known, Tart will never fuck with you. Tart will never, ever fuck with you, because we are trying to build something that is respectful. And people know that they can come on our platform no matter what their skill set is, no matter what their talent is, and it be respectful and it be kind and be productive and not do that dumb shit.
One thing that I would say is, anyone going to any channel that way is not a good representation of themselves at their highest form of their argument. Like, it tells you a lot about themselves and how Absolutely. They see the argument or how they see what they're doing, and that's not satisfactory. And then, for me, I would hope that with my channel, like if something were to happen, I would be able to take that responsibility and say, hey, no, you're not doing this. And then on top of that, quickly move from, hey, like, these are the standards. You've no longer adhered to these standards. I won't be doing business with you in the future. Nice try. And then that's it. Like, and I move on, and I don't need to cope very long, to say the least, because people are going to come and go, and hopefully you can weed out the bad from the good very quickly.
No, and I'll shut up. I've been talking a lot, but I'll say this. Rand and for Randolph, the fact that because I do know this about having multiple engagements and now debates with Randolph. He comes in prepared and he takes this very serious, and he takes each conversation very, very serious, and to come in like that, to me, not only disrespectful to our channel, but then disrespectful to Randolph. And then what just popped up in the comments, Brian Stevens said, Oz, President Gavin would probably laugh if your channel was taken down for this. Also, I wouldn't put it beyond Gavin to report a video he is in. And you know what? Yes, I would fight it with everything inside of me. But I would start another channel because we have the backing. We have the support. I would start another channel and we do it all over again. And I would make sure that everything was understood on what happened, and make sure that they get their piece. They get their piece of the pie. You know, if that were to happen. But at the end of the day, we had an individual come on, completely slapped Randolph in the face, if you ask me, completely slapped us in the face, if you ask me. It was a complete disrespectful nightmare. And all I know is at the end of the night tonight, we were talking about, is there good existence for a God? And Randolph still won again. So he's 2-0 this week. So what?
And
Well, I would just say it.
Well,
yeah, James, what were you going to say?
When
I
I
was
was
just going to say.
when I was on with Adherent Apologetics, Zach Seckler, I felt that Zach did better than I did. So there, you win some, you lose some, and I'm quite open to both and happy with both results, because both of them are opportunities for me to learn in different ways.
Yep. Well, and Randolph, we did. That one was Zach. We gave that debate to the theist. Yep. So we're fair. We're fair. Absolutely.
James, you wanted to say something, and then
I'll
say one more thing, and then we'll go back to God.
I was gonna say that Gavin is the one. He's the one coming to the debate, saying that you have to accept his beliefs on this, or his God is going to torture you for all eternity. And he's just not coming with any type of seriousness or the solemnity or the decorum that goes with believing that and trying to get other people to believe that.
In fairness, I do think he came prepared with the opening statement and ideas on how to debate this, and I do take that seriously. As far as the debate interaction goes back and forth, I think it did start out well.
Well, that's the weird thing is Oz. He basically burned a bridge for no reason. He probably would have had a good debate. It would have went off well. He came on an atheist channel, and it went off without a hitch. And he would have probably been invited back had the shenanigans not had unraveled.
Yeah. Yeah, Amy, that's one thing that we're solidifying ourselves as a platform that we love to have fun in the debate format, but it still be structured, and people come on and do that. But you can't come on and act like a child. Like you got to wear pants, bro. Like you got to wear pants. You got to be professional. And if you do that, I think we're now out of the last 5 debates, it's the atheists are 2-3. They've only won 2 out of the last 5. On our channel, and that's coming from myself and the co-host, where we just call it play down the middle. Where it's this is what it is. It doesn't mean I agree with you. It doesn't mean I agree with your God claim. It doesn't mean I agree with whatever. It's who presented their argument the best.
Yeah.
Right. And that's how we line it up. And I think out of the last 5, I think 2 out of the last 3, only 2 out of the last 3 went to the atheists.
And I think what it really means is that you're subtly encouraging more atheists to get more concerned about this and get more involved.
Well, I mean, it also keeps them on topic too, and that was the big thing with Ben. Like as far as his response to Eddie, he wanted to jump topics very quickly, which Tart did not allow. And because of that, like, you lost the contingency argument. Good job. Like, I mean, there's a few other factors, but I definitely reified it a little bit. But other than that, like, I think that's a good platform. It shows you, hey, if I can debate this topic and not, like, you can have open discussion, that's fine. But, like, I'm not going to pull you off topic like any other number of theist and atheist debates that I've seen. I think we all sit here and agree that many of them do go off topic very quickly.
Yeah, I see that on modern day debate a fair bit. And then I've also seen some really good ones where people have stayed on topic. And they do a lot of debates, and they've been doing it for a long time. So they've got a lot of variety there, too.
Yeah, true. James has definitely been doing it for a while.
And Andrew just said, I like the format you're doing, the debates. That one. I don't like when people talk over each other and argue. I can't understand anyone's argument if they're over talking each other. The next one. I think your format keeps everybody focused and structured. And what I love, and first of all, thank you. I appreciate that, because that's something we on the back end we've been working on. So we have that, and there's a reason Dr. Josh is involved. Because it's not just the ref or mod, but now we're incorporating this thing where it's like, okay, if we don't feel like you understand what the other person is saying, we're going to pause. Like, and I already know when Josh steps in, I hit stop, or I pause on the stopwatch, and it's okay. You have 1 minute to steel man the other person's position. That way, we know that you know what they're talking about,
and they agreed to it.
Yeah,
says a lot about a person too, because I've been in debates so often where they're like, time to steel man, and then they do the most horrible straw man ever, and you're like, okay, we see where this is.
It's very,
or you tell them what they
cynical,
believe,
almost.
they say that's a straw man.
So in that method, so let's say that happens in that method, and Dr. Josh or whoever, maybe he's not available, somebody else does it, and it's a complete straw man or it's complete bullshit, whatever. It's like, okay, you obviously didn't understand the person's position. So Jim, we'll say it was Jim. Jim, please restate your position.
Yep.
And then you restate it. Then we go back and let's say Amy was the one arguing. We'll say, Amy, now you heard it again. Please steel man and explain that position one more time.
Agreed.
That way, now we can go forward instead of it being a 40-minute fucking carousel of just words on words on words.
And
Or
talking past
arguing over
one another. No one
definitions.
likes that. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I do it a lot. Don't worry.
Now, Aunt Jerry is making a comment. She normally avoids debates because she doesn't like arguing. This is a common thing, actually. A lot of people don't want to get into the confrontational debate and all this kind of thing, and that's okay. I'm finding that it's helping me to get better at thinking more clearly about the ideas that I like to think about and the things I'm doing with Canadian atheists. And I'm also writing a book about atheism. And so that's helped me to actually practice for the debates. So the debates are very useful and very helpful for people who are interested in participating in them. Most people aren't interested. Most people are more interested in watching and listening and thinking.
I can see
and that's fine. All this stuff is good. Most important thing is people are doing what they want to do.
For
When
me,
you're done that book, come on and present it. I'm sorry, Jim. Talk.
no, you're good.
I would love to.
It's your show. It's your show. What I would say is, like, for me, and like this is my thing. I'm not a fan of debates because I'm not very quick on my feet. It's just and there's no amount of prep work that would make me, especially if somebody like decides to do something that I didn't prepare for. So I'm not very quick on my feet, but I do like to have conversations with people and like to learn more about them and kind of like an Oz's approach. And I would love to have a conversation with you, Randolph, a little bit more on just generally how you what's your position, your story, all that fun stuff. Because at the end of the day,
I'd be delighted.
That's
we can
more
set it up.
alluding to your
Contact me
position.
privately. I'll put my email in the private chat for you.
Yeah, no problem, man. By the way, I'm sorry, Amy, I have to real quick. So my channel will be about, in some regards, meaning forge and how what it is how you make meaning, right? And I want a lot of different people to come in and tell their stories both, like how they derive meaning, like how do they see their life, like why their life is important, and apply, maybe some leadership and some self-leadership focus to some of those things. That way we can build this massive maybe library of different sources that are more relatable, because every day, like, we need those relatable things, not just Lincoln's great, for example, but he's also not living today.
That sounds like a wonderful idea. One of my good friends, and he's a neighbor, we live in the same city actually, he goes by the name Neil the 604.
Yep, I'm very familiar with Neil as well. Yeah, Neil's a great guy too.
He's got these deconversion stories, which I think are immensely helpful to atheists or people who are looking to leave religion, and because I think it gives a lot of people reassurance in a way that there's a lot of different stories and backgrounds and reasoning behind it for different people, and it helps to normalize atheism, which is one of my primary goals, is to normalize. Like when somebody comes along and says, they believe in a god, they're a Christian, they're a Muslim, or whatever, typical reaction from most people is, oh, okay, that's fine. But when somebody says, I'm an atheist, there are still a number of people who react as if they're shocked, as if there's something wrong, as if somebody needs help, they're worried for them. And that's what I'm trying to change. And that's what I want to see, is it's just as normal as it is for a theist to say they're a theist. And that's all I'm really pushing for with Canadian atheists. It's very simple and straightforward. But it's important to me because this is a large demographic. Everybody should be equal in society. And so let's put our money where our mouth is and make that happen.
Yeah, I agree with that same sentiment as well on multiple levels, and I would hope that the stories that are told and people help. Again, there's this idea of a toolbox, but also the great source of, I think, hopefully, like, empowerment and empathy that allow people to see the world through maybe someone else's eyes for a brief moment, to understand that everybody should be treated with respect, regardless of their position, regardless of, and from the Christian tradition, how they sin, which is really ridiculous to begin with. I can't stand that shit. And
are you a Christian? I'm not really sure. I haven't.
Yeah, I'm a Christian.
He is a Christian.
Okay, all right.
I'm a Christian. I'm
In fact, if I can make the joke that I think Jim's gonna get tired of every time, he's one of the good ones. So we like having. Jim on. I would send me an email. I'd like to connect you with Zach Seckler at Inherent Apologetics, because he runs a YouTube show. He'd probably love to have you on his channel to talk about stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I try to be very honest as I can. Like, I'm probably the few. I
have a feeling you two will hit it off real well, and you'll probably have each other on each other's channels. And I have a feeling that you guys will be a good connection.
Yeah, let me go ahead and send you that email here in a minute. But anyway.
Anytime. I'm not going to check my email tonight. You've got lots of time. Yeah.
Don't forget.
Stripper liquors here.
Oz.
All right.
Stripper liquor.
Zach and Jim will have a good talk because they're on different wavelengths.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Wait. What do you mean that?
He's not the same type of Christian you are, Jim.
Perfect.
No, but he's a nice guy. I think you guys will have.
They're both cool cats. They're both cool cats. Cool cats. But totally different type of Christians, which is another reason that I can't buy into Christianity. But two totally different type of Christians.
Mm-hmm.
But no, Jim's going to be on in a day and a half now.
Yeah,
great.
Trying to get through some stuff to prep for our conversation, but we'll see how it goes.
On the tart, we got chop it up.
Is that truly all day, or when is that happening on the 22nd?
It should be all day.
All
It'll
day.
Be all day.
It's
That's
9 p.m. It's 9 p.m. Like a couple hours, maybe.
2 hours.
That's fair. That's fair. I don't listen all day.
Now you got me nervous. Now I'm gonna go check my shit.
Don't say all day. Like I looked at it a few days ago, and I was like all day, and I'm like, what the fuck?
We've done a couple long streams, but not that long.
Yeah, you guys do like from 5 a.m. in the Eastern time.
See, though, but on Maddox, I want to say Maddox's because I can't confirm it on Smokey or Praises, but they've let it run on for
Praise
now
will do a
12
10-hour
hours.
stream. Yeah.
Yeah.
Smokey's done 10
And that's
hours.
like-
before, yeah,
Oh,
9
no,
or 10
no.
hours.
I've got you all beat here. There's after the first debate on Tart I had with Gavin. Afterwards, they went for more than 12 hours. It might have been 13. It was at least 11 for sure.
Yeah,
I
that's
think it was
crazy.
12.
I'm
to
sorry. I
basically-
think he's run out of people to talk to, and you run out of things to talk about at a certain point, and it's just
Oh.
not. It's just not entertaining at that point.
They
I
were
think
talking
Randolph was
about
on our
how
after
I
show.
was wrong about everything, and Gavin, they were giving him some constructive feedback, and then telling him he was right about everything. It's just 12 hours of that. It's like, wow.
A big theist circle jerk.
They're getting ready for what they're going to do in heaven, right, James? Praise forever and ever and ever and
Yeah,
ever.
praise our North Korean dictator, right? The problem is we can't die.
Here we go. See, Jim? You're coming on our side already.
All right.
Well, see,
But don't worry, you'll never
everybody
want to do
said this.
anything wrong.
Amy,
You'll never
it's
want
not
to sin
side.
because free will wasn't even that important anyway.
So Jim, I just confirmed it. I don't know what everybody else is saying, but it's the 22nd at 9 p.m.
Yep, I'm tracking 9 p.m. on the YouTube
For like
but
2 hours.
on Tart Live, right? You
Yeah.
like on Tart.live, if it's been
What?
fixed, it's been changed up from all day.
Well, no, I just because I just double checked everything this morning on StreamYard, and I just went in there to triple check, and it's still the same shit. So,
Hang on.
Could have
I'm not
been
gonna lie.
the
Like,
Jim
I
channel
swear I
all
looked at
day.
it. a few days ago.
like Jim, you and I both know how to talk, but I don't know if just you and I alone can talk for 24 hours.
Well, maybe next time you guys do a live stream, one of your charity streams, which you guys should have another one soon, by the way. Let me
yeah,
know
they
so
are
I can come on and
optional
figure out how
for
long I can talk.
Well, I will say, Amy, if you're interested, because this is for atheists only.
Ooh,
Atheists only.
the cool
And
thing-
I'm going to do a separate one where
Yes,
we include the theists as well. That way we can include the other dialogue and conversations and scheduling and all that. But on February 20th, where Tart is going to do a do you want to call it an expose of all of the new and upcoming atheist channels? And if you want to be a part of that, we're gonna it's plug.
100%.
That's awesome.
All the channels that are coming up like 3 to 6 months old channels. Jump on, plug, and we'll do like a really quick interview, and that way we can help try to get as much exposure as we can, because we have to normalize atheism. That's what the fuck we have
Absolutely. Woohoo.
Did
For the
you
Mary,
I'm
right.
all for that.
did you see my list on the Atheist Frontier under resources, broadcasting, videos about or has approximately 200 different atheist YouTube channels there?
Isn't it you, Randolph,
I
that's
did
trying to
not.
create this list, or is it YFN Atheist who's trying to create the massive list?
I already have a list.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I remember this conversation because you and YFNA and YFN Atheist were talking about a list, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm making one," and you're like, "I already have one."
Yeah, so it's got around 200 in it, and so I just added a few more the last couple of days. So
But anyway, hey,
That sounds good.
on your tar.live, it says all day. I have my screen pulled up, but I don't think we want to do that. So
Save some Jim Beam.
You are not Bill Burr. If you were Bill Burr, you could do a 24-hour live
Oh,
stream.
you know what? I know why. Okay, I'm gonna fix that right now.
I definitely couldn't.
This goddamn fucking
I mean,
calendar.
and what I would hope is, that I really like. Sometimes, like, I see this on all sides, and again, these are individuals overall, right? So
Yeah.
individuals do it wrong. We're the worst at it, and I'll be happy to say that we are like really bad at it. Is this feeling of self-righteousness? And I
Oh,
for
you
some
haven't talked to
reason.
enough Muslims yet.
Oh yeah, well Muslims are a whole nother ballgame. But like Christians are definitely like we're up there, especially when you get like the Baptist and I
Yeah.
sin differently or I don't do this sin, so you're bad. Go fuck yourself. Sin is sin.
And
And
I've met
then
some self-righteous atheists.
yeah, and now I've met
I,
a lot
I
of
love I love I love it when I hear
Yeah.
Christians say, "Go fuck yourself, sin is sin."
Freedom of expression, man.
And do you know where I think that comes from? It's not always, but I noticed it. Ben has a little bit of it, even though he's a nice guy, is certainty. I noticed when Randolph asked
I'll be right
him
back.
about his certainty, it's always this, it's what I'm so afraid of, is be afraid of the people who are very, very certain. The people who seem to know everything that they're talking about. Or that they say.
That bravado.
Yeah, it's a very fear-based centric kind of system. They talk about being God-fearing, and it's funny. Some of them really mean it. That you need to be afraid of it. You need to walk on eggshells all your life, to put it metaphorically. And there's others who say, "Oh, it doesn't mean fear. Fear means respect," which sounds like a cop-out. That's just my perspective on it.
I've never gotten
you get into the debate
you
that
should
they-
fear the God.
Now, I think
people who
like
write
what
the
was
books
interesting with
couldn't
Gavin
say what they
was in that debate is he was really pushing for interpreting "thou shalt not kill" as "thou shalt not murder."
Oh, they really like to praise that. I was making tons. I remember that because I was making jokes about that. He was, and he's like, "Yeah, we're not going to ruin their free will." And then all the people that were drowning were like, "My free will."
Yeah,
No,
I know what it's like to drown. When I was a kid, I was a little kid. I was thrown into a swimming pool by a drunk guy. He said, "I'm going to learn you how to swim." Belly flopped and sunk. I tried to get up, and it wasn't working. All the flailing I was doing, and I blacked out before I hit the bottom, or when I did. And I remember just before that, some woman was coming in to get me from the pool, and I was 10 feet deep or something. And I woke up on a cot coughing out water. So I think I know what it's like to drown. So flooding the world, that's a really horrific way, I can tell you from personal experience. It's just an awful way to do it. Now, if you've got health problems and breathing irregularities are going to cause pain for you, it's going to be even worse. And in those times, without proper health care, there's probably a lot of that going on.
And the thing with free will, first and foremost, the Christians love to fall back on free will. Free will is not mentioned in the Bible, not ever, not once, not ever.
Oh, do you agree with that, Jim?
It's
I'm aware of that.
It's not there. Free will is not there. What we have in the Bible is, if you take it from a philosophical definition, when you have the influence of an external agent, free will is completely done away with. It's excluded. It cannot be inserted or asserted. What we have is now an ultimatum. It is, you will serve this God exactly how this book tells you to serve this God, to the T. And if you choose to not do that, you will then suffer an eternal damnation. And I know the eternal damnation differs across the denominations, whether it's hellfire and brimstone or just complete disappearance or whatever. But it wasn't ever really free will. It was determined, and if not determined, it was an ultimatum, which means it was this or that. Period.
And then on top of that, he's got to hide himself so you can't know that he's even there.
Yeah. So he's going to be hidden.
You can't even know that the threat is valid.
Yeah. So that's all loving. And I want to put the exclamation mark on that because this is what I grew up with. The all loving, all nurturing, all encompassing, all
watchful,
forgiving, all seeing, all knowing, all being, all everything. God was there to rescue you until you burn. Congratulations.
Which means, believe me,
Oh, that damn
you're
talking
holding the gun
vegetarian
to their
with
head.
legs.
And if that is not the absolute best psychological fuck
Oh, look.
and gaslighting fuck that you've ever heard or seen in your life, I don't know what is.
The sunflower we have inside chat here. Throwing some car bombs.
I'm throwing. Hold on.
Wait, where's Sunflower?
Oh, that's
in
cute.
the chat.
Oh, tell Sunflower to come in.
I don't see him actually.
I see him in the chat.
Oh, I see him now. Oh, yeah, okay. Okay, this should be
Now,
interesting.
there was a time when Sunflower once called Canada a crap country. And so I interrupted the whole conversation and said, you better back that point up.
Wait,
and then
what?
later, when I tried to hold his feet to the fire on it, he actually didn't remember it. And I believe that he didn't remember it. So I think it was a discussion about Canada being socialist or something like that was part of the conversation. I don't remember clearly. So, yeah.
If I could jump in, and again, I never want to disrespect anybody's channel followers, but Brian Stevens said, Oz, God is incapable of rescuing you from hell. It is not his nature. Well, then he's not all knowing and he's not all loving. So, Brian, respectfully, I don't give a shit about that opinion.
Okay, I'm sorry. I had a
I
moment.
think Brian's an
All right.
atheist, I thought.
Yeah, he's just
He's just being
having fun.
Okay.
I agree he's having fun.
I heart you, Brian.
Yep.
Heart.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's an atheist.
So nothing but love then, because
He's not
I
being serious,
didn't know how to
yeah.
take that. Right.
That's okay. I
he's
still
on our
agree
side.
with what you said.
God could still be all-knowing, just not omniscient. He could be omniscient, just not omnipotent.
And I always ask them, are you really telling me that someone is watching us 24/7, 365? And can you appreciate someone watching you 24/7, 365?
with no pants.
No pants.
We call that omni-surveillant. I just made that up.
And
Hey,
I was
that's creepy to me, but
Actually, I think I'm going to use omni-surveillant in the future.
no, it's a good word. The concept.
For the record, Brian Stevens, much love. I just didn't know. But I was on a Christian podcast the other day, and at the end of it, it was kind of, it started to get stale and boring, and I was like, let's talk about Song of Solomon.
Are you messing with Brian Stevens?
Oh, no.
Because he welcomes it.
Oz, come on now. Are we going to do this now? Like you already have this corner with Eddie. You can't do this. You can't move this from channel to channel. That's not fair.
You brought it up. I was gonna say shit about shit. You brought it up, so now I can't. Now that you said it, I can't say shit.
All right. Well, that's okay. We're going to add in the second theist. Welcome, Sunflower.
Hello, Sunflower.
Sunflower back
Thank you so much.
after a hiatus. He hasn't been here in a while.
That's true. It's been a little while since we saw you.
Yeah, I'm so
what
thrilled
the
to
hell-
make an appearance
what the
tonight.
hell-
I feel just
What
so
the hell
honored.
What the hell is a meat-eating vegan?
Oh, so that the
It's a sunflower.
It's a paradox.
Recent debate with on MDD with Cosmic Skeptic and Smokey. Cosmic Skeptic said that if the circumstances called for it, I could kill a pig and eat it and still be a vegan as long as I'm still trying to like reduce the amount of needless harm, like as much needless harm as I can. So I thought that was ironic. So I decided to just say like, okay, well, you know what? You're never gonna know the circumstances other people's lives are like that are in other people's lives. So you can never really determine if they're vegan or not. Like if you can kill a pig and eat it and still be a vegan, then I can just go to dinner with you at a 5-star restaurant and get the the filet mignon. And as far as you know, you can never be certain that I'm not a vegan also. So that was kind of my interesting little thing that I decided to sort of put out there.
Okay, I appreciate that. The sunflower part, I appreciate because I'm a Post Malone fan, and that's one of my favorite songs. But
Picture. I've got a meme here. Vegan cat food. This was the happiest cat they could find.
Yeah, I know. It's sad. It's really sad that vegans go as far as to say that they should. Well, actually, cats can be happy on a vegan diet too. It's like, just give me a break, like eat what you want, but don't subject your poor damn cats to vegan diet.
Yeah.
That is just insane. But
it's fine because before the fall, animals were vegetarian anyway, so
yeah, no need to go there, dude.
they all eat vegetables.
So
now you're projecting.
we have another person. We're gonna bring on in Eddie.
Oh, hell.
Long time no see.
Hey, hold on. I'm
It's been,
fucking leaving.
2 days?
I'm fucking leaving. This dude smells like horse shit. I am leaving.
I love this.
Hey, I'll tell you what, Oz. Oz,
So now you're projecting.
You gotta mute the other stream, bro.
Yeah, Eddie, you don't even have to mute your shit. You got everything's bouncing and echoing.
Yeah, that was like it was almost like it was echoing end.
It just means there's a YouTube link open, but we heart you.
Sounded like everybody was talking at the same time.
It helps, right?
It's been a long time. What's it been? 2 days?
I'm telling you, man. Hey, Oz, I just wanted to tell you, go take a long walk off a short cliff.
What the
That
hell?
sounds like good advice.
What kind of weird dueling beard beef is this?
What? Whoa. Did you say something about the beard?
I mean, you have a bigger beard, but his beard looks a little bit more like kind of like
A chin
A
strap.
sunflower. It's not the size of the beard that matters.
right. Well, that's what I'm going to say.
Sunflower. This is what you need to know. I'm damn near 6 foot. Eddie's like 5'4".
5'7".
Well, I was gonna say that even though his beard is bigger, I think Oz's look a little bit more deliberate and tasteful, like he's not compensating for something. I don't know either. I don't know.
Usually the only people that can't grow beard say stuff like that.
Look, I'm just saying. I don't know either of these people. I'm just an onlooker, just making an observation.
Hey, Eddie, Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with.
This is going to be the shortest stream I've ever been on.
and your Christian's the one blasting you. I'm just gonna take a back seat.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. We're supposed to be on the same.
It's always good fun. Yeah, I'm just joking around. Yeah.
Mr. Contradiction, meat-eating vegan.
I know. Isn't it amazing? Yeah, I know.
It's like a non-practicing virgin.
Well, it's intentionally. It's supposed to sound stupid because
That was good, Amy.
like
That was a good job. You
That's
definitely succeeded in that.
yeah.
I'm an atheistic Christian.
Yeah.
Well, that does exist.
No, that's not a
Christian
paradox.
Hey,
No, that's not
Eddie,
a paradox. That's just an oxymoron.
a Christian atheist does exist. Adam Friend has taken the position as a Christian atheist.
hey, Eddie is the closest.
Yes.
Eddie is the closest you're gonna get to an atheist.
No,
I mean, to be a Christian.
Eddie looks like someone poured a Guinness into a baseball glass.
you know what? That's funny because I hate Guinness. It's not
And drank it as a cocktail.
bourbon, baby, bourbon.
That's not bourbon. That's way too dark. That's cherry juice.
That It's Diet Coke.
Hey,
I've
it's got a splash of Coke.
Because you're big, because you're bourbon.
It looks like it's about 90% Coke, 10%,
Okay, I'm leaving.
90% cherry Coke, 10% Jim Beam honey, dude.
Hey, sunflower, you're really dark to be a sunflower.
You got all the hair. You took all the hair off your chest and glued it to your chin. That's the problem.
Oh, I can't say.
Oh wow, we're
Okay,
just
so you-
throwing down tonight.
I'm just joking around, by the way. I'm only 13 and I've never had a legal alcoholic beverage. I have to sneak tequila from my.
Oh my God, yeah, you're 13. Holy.
I have to sneak liquor from my parents' liquor cabinet, and even then, I feel like I'm doing something wrong.
Hey, don't do drugs. Drugs are bad. Okay.
Okay.
There.
Hey, guys, I'm still wearing pants.
I'm not actually 13, but I.
Hey, kids, drugs are bad.
Yeah.
If you don't believe me, ask your dad. If you don't believe me, ask your mom. She does have to all the time.
I can't ask-
Marijuana ain't
I
right.
can't
I
ask my
tell you
dad.
what.
My dad went to the store and never came back. So
Oh, we want to confirm this is the theme of the night. We're gonna ask, just making sure both our new guests are wearing pants. Our new rule. Just want to make sure.
Is the
Eddie knows
question
what
about,
this joke is all about.
Like, is the
you
question
won't
about,
catch me with my
Show
pants.
it, show 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 it.
Woohoo! See? Gotta get those views somehow. We're
Wait a
getting
second.
hot
My
stuff
favorite
tonight.
part of Eddie's video. Okay, so between the brick and the sparse audio proofing, there's just like a constructor's. There's like a music stand with like an open book. Like, what kind of Dracula life are you living out? It's very cool. I want to know more about this guy's like environment.
You don't want
I
to.
think they're soundproof stuff. That's what they are.
Well,
They're
it's
cast sound.
soundproof stuff, but I've never seen soundproof stuff on exposed brick. And then just like the single music stand with the open book. Like,
Oh, I'm sorry. There we go.
you're
Is
living
Oz wearing pants? He muted his camera.
it's almost like IRL Castlevania. It's actually way more badass than anything I've ever seen.
Let me tell you. This will clear everything up for you. Okay. I have a wife and 3 daughters. That's
I that even makes you more cool and mysterious. I've just never seen soundproofing on exposed brick. That's just super badass.
I thought it was cool too. I appreciate that. Yeah, you got an artistic eye there. I like that. Thank you.
It's just it's an aesthetic that's just so new, like niche. Like, who else can say they have that? No one.
Yeah.
You're not Oztart. Oztart looks like he lives in suburban Minnesota and works for the government.
Hey,
That's very specific, Sunflower.
Hey, Sunflower, what do I look like? I'm just curious now.
a
All
nerd.
right, Jim, you look like man, that's
Oh my God! Somebody asked what
Impressive.
Castlevania is. Kick
you
him out.
look like shit. I don't know. You almost look like you were one of those guys that started graduate school on a GI Bill.
Oh! Oh!
Well, that's not even really an insult. That's the vibe.
No, you like just almost totally pegged him.
That's the vibe I get, like graduate school, but from the GI Bill.
Dang.
No.
It was the other way around though.
No, I paid for all my stuff out of pocket. Took out loans and stuff, but no GI Bill for me in that regard.
Okay, I mean,
But definitely military. So yeah, you're.
Okay.
It's pretty straightforward.
I have what I would consider divine intuition, so that's why I'm able to follow everyone so well.
I like
Sunflower and
this
his
Sunflower
fucking
guy. You're gonna have to
intuition.
come on my podcast.
Yeah, I would love to go on anyone's podcast. I'm just, I'm
Automatic dumpster fire.
No, not true.
I'm
Actually,
trying to light a dumpster fire. And
Yeah,
never
come
lights.
on, Amy.
that's because atheist trash is wet, whereas
Here
Do
we
what
go.
Jesus would do: douse him with gasoline and light him on fire. What would Jesus do?
Throw him in the belly again, Hannah.
at least if you have a atheist panel, it's like primed for flame, whereas the atheist panels are like wet leaves. Like, you can't light it if you try. It's never going to be fun or interesting or exciting. It's just a bunch of depressed people.
I feel like you almost complimented us. You were like getting so close to a compliment, and I feel like you felt that. You're like, damn it, I need to pivot.
No, I think I misspoke. What I meant to say was that
You're like, hold on.
atheists
You almost had
are
a
always-
coherent thought. Almost.
if you get enough atheists together, it's gonna just be a wet pile of leaves. But if you have even one theist in the group, it's gonna be there's at least something that can cause a fire. You know.
You're welcome, Amy.
Yeah, I was about to say we've been bringing on Jim all these nights, and it hasn't been
I
lighting.
mean,
What the
Jim is
hell?
clearly a man of refined taste. Look at like everyone else is just sort of like
Hey, where's my
cold,
pipe?
and everyone else has like a pale zombie like glow, and then at least Jim has like some red tint in his skin, like he's got some blood going through his vein. Everyone else looks like they fucking came out of Dead Alive.
Well,
movie.
we have the atheists haven't eaten their babies for the day. We have to sacrifice and do our other rituals that the atheists do so that we live longer.
I knew I was on here with a bunch of baby eaters, and God sin lovers, and God haters.
Children of the serpent.
How else do you stay immortal? That's the secret, right? That's the secret. Okay.
Well,
Baby
Hey,
what?
Oz,
Is
you definitely muted your camera. Are you wearing pants?
is the one motherfucker that's on or I'm sorry, the other motherfucker that's on here
Down there.
talking with Avatar, talking about how people look?
Hell yeah, I am. What are you gonna do about it? Trey Mancini's retarded nephew.
Was that funny?
Yes, everyone laughed.
I feel like I'm too old to
Everyone
understand
laughed.
that joke.
Was that
I didn't laugh.
They did. They understood it. So maybe.
Was that funny?
Everyone
Don't beat
laughs
me up,
except
Oz.
you.
I didn't laugh.
When everyone laughs except you, it means that you're the one that doesn't think it's funny.
No, it means they
I
want.
wasn't laughing either.
Yeah, it means they want you to feel special. Is there anything else?
Yeah, you're Trey Mancini's Down syndrome little brother, I guess.
Oh, okay. All right.
This reminds me of a Louis C.K. joke where there was like, I was going to say retarded, but then I tried to fix it and I went with Down syndrome and they all freaked out. It's like, yeah, you take yourself, you kind of figure.
Anybody that messes with Oz has to go through me first.
No, that's the slide around you, Eddie. That's the
You
problem.
look like you could be related to Trey Mancini, honestly.
But to get to him, you got to go through Gavin.
No, to get to Jim, you have to go through Gavin.
Damn right. I'd rather have that damn brick, like just to be like, here you go. It repels everything. It's better than holy water.
So now on any channel he's on, the ads are all going to be from Manscaped.
If he got some of that leg hair under control, nobody would have even known it was.
I have a bottle of mezcal here. I snuck it from my uncle.
So Amy, how do you feel about your topic tonight? We're not even talking about it at
I
all.
was going to say,
We're just
poor
completely
Ben.
shooting the shit. This is
That's
complete midnight ranting.
Hey, I have an argument that was presented by an atheist who wants me to present his argument. He's in the chat, so
A dog should grow a set of balls and just come on and just present his
Yeah,
argument. Talk.
well, when you're that ugly, then you don't.
Let's go back to Avatar.
He's actually not a bad looking dude, so I don't know why you like refuse.
Come on, dog. Come on.
Unless his profile picture is somebody random.
Who are you talking
Steve. He goes by Dog on Discourse. He like
What do you say? Present my argument. What is the argument?
the argument is premise one: epistemic virtues are truth probability raising. Premise two: parsimony is an epistemic virtue. Premise three: if a theory is more parsimonious, it's more likely to be true. P4. Why so many, dog? Damn. P4. Moral anti-realism can explain moral intuitions without posing value properties or queer ontologies. P5. If
Queer
a
ontologies? Huh?
yeah, if a
I
theory
wasn't going to say anything, but you did it. So
it's a philosophical.
I know.
If a come on, I'm
This
dead now.
include
I
that
can't
in
even go any further. I thought it ran through my head while I was reading, and I was like, "Keep going."
What? This is the after party, bro.
Yeah, I mean, like, dog, let me stop you right there. Conclusion: this argument sucks, and you need to not quit your day job. How about that?
Ooh, actually, he's pretty damn smart there,
He's
homie.
a smart kid.
It doesn't matter how smart he is. If this is the forum he's presenting, he's debuting this argument on, he needs to reassess his career choice. I mean, come on.
Prove God right
Hey,
here.
hey, Eddie,
tonight.
Eddie, how about this? Jesus is a myth.
Oh my!
Oh god damn it! Here we go again.
That's, yeah.
Lobotomies for Jesus.
I don't do flat earthers, so
I said nothing about flat Earth.
no, but it's equivalent.
That's a
No,
career.
no, it's not. No, it's not.
Yeah, it absolutely.
No, it's
Jesus
not.
he never existed. Dr. Richard Carrier.
Even Bart Ehrman says that.
Dr. Richard Carrier.
I don't care what Bart Ehrman said.
Oh, but only when he talks against the.
As long as you guys
Christian,
realize.
I don't give a fuck what Bart Ehrman said.
Okay, but you guys realize it's a fringe position, right? It's not like it's outside of the consensus.
It's coming around. It's gaining ground.
No, it's not. Only on.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
It's
It
gaining
absolutely
ground.
is.
Only
I actually
friends
think-
of Richard Carrier, who is.
No. You're dead wrong. You're dead wrong, Eddie. You're dead wrong. Because there are more and more philosophers now that were
First of
not.
all, it's historians, not philosophers.
No, stop. I wasn't done. There are more and more philosophers now, and now historians that are not Christian historians that are studying the text that are aligning with that thought.
Name them.
Trash bullshit.
Okay, so you
No,
talk. I'll pull them up. Jesus Christ!
You know,
bring 'em up.
if
Bring 'em up.
Sunflower was an AI, I'd say he's seriously broken.
Yeah, I'm pretty broken. But I feel like the most pointed response to that is like, do you realize how much more the idea that Jesus was just a guy lends itself to every other atheistic world? Like, it would be more crazy for an atheist to say, in every other instance in the world, they were just misinformed or uninformed or lacked sufficient information. But in the weird one in Christianity, they just totally made everything up. I mean, that's bizarre. Like, Occam's razor would just say, like, no, like all the other times, they didn't have scientific information, so they basically took some guy that was a little bit prolific and weird, and they said he was, divine. Like, that's really like the trend in almost every like other, false god thing. And then all of a sudden, it's like, no, like the edgelords of atheism are like, he wasn't even a person. It's like, shut up. It's just so stupid. It's just so dumb. It's like, it's
200 years ago, everybody thought Moses was a person. Now everybody knows he didn't exist.
That's
Same thing with
false.
Jesus in 100 years.
That's false.
Well, that's not only not true. That's
Moses existing
not
is a fringe
comfortable.
position among the
No,
scholars.
it is not. It is not.
Totally fringe, 5% or less.
So here's something that I would pose: is Socrates is even becoming like his existence is questioned.
Yeah,
Pythagoras.
Socrates, Plato, Alexander the Great. You'd have to pretty much
Pythagoras,
question all.
No, there's actually some good reason for doubting for
Socrates.
Socrates.
Yeah, Socrates is there is some good evidence, I would say, because
There's
Plato.
some good reasoning. I don't know about evidence, but I know there's good reasoning.
Well,
Yeah.
I think it's psychotic to even begin to speculate over whether or not these people existed when the time scale is that long. It's like if that impacts your worldview, you're never going to get
And I think
verification of it. I mean,
Socrates
seriously.
is thought to be possibly Plato's imagination or something, right?
Well,
Yeah,
they're
but-
not going to send anybody to hell.
Well,
Well, that's if you even believe in hell.
Plato's
Well, wait a
mechanism.
second. I'm just saying, like, to propose that Jesus wasn't a person, like, if you think you're ever going to actually get closure on that, then I don't know what to tell you. It's at best, it's a like fringe theory, and at worst, it's
So,
just like
How many years after Jesus' death did people start writing the Bible?
First of all, what's the relevance of that?
how many years after King Arthur or whatever death did they start
Yeah,
writing?
no, wait a minute. What's the relevance of the time in between them writing and Jesus existing?
Well, it speaks to credibility because there's
Absolutely.
So,
concerns that the message that the idea of this person could have changed quite a lot.
right. So you realize that they were oral cultures, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
And only people of significance could read and write.
Mm-hmm.
like the Odyssey, right? Like we don't
Okay,
know
so-
if Homer existed. but we know
and,
that
and,
it's
and make
something.
up and make up their own stories. Absolutely.
make.
Well, no, that's a different claim though, because
Yeah, what evidence do you have they made it up?
Are you? No, that happens every day. Like
It doesn't, that doesn't support your argument. What
No,
evidence?
it
do you have
absolutely
that was made
does.
up?
It absolutely
No, it
does.
doesn't.
It's ludicrous. It's ludicrous to act like people would not embellish their claims. People do that every single day.
That's called an empty assertion. It's a
You mean
non.
You can call it
What
whatever.
evidence do you have that it was made up? What evidence? What
Day.
evidence do you have it was made up?
Okay, you guys keep talking. You keep talking. I'm working on the links right now. You
They
guys
didn't embellish their claims. I don't know what you mean they didn't embellish their like you realize like the story of Christ.
Well, embellish means to
no,
kind of fabricate.
no. What I'm talking about is the and I know Christians hate to hear this. I know you hate it, but it's the telephone game. Like you pass along, it gets bigger and better as the story goes on.
Does that mean
Also
that
known
there
as
was
Chinese
but
whispers.
wait, but wasn't there a first message in the telephone game though?
Yeah, but do you know what it was?
Well,
So the first,
no,
the
but you're
oldest
not
gospel is Mark.
Again, Occam's
And
razor.
Between Mark and John, there's a lot of additions. A lot of the claims get more grandiose.
I'm grant. Look, Occam's razor in the atheist worldview is just Jesus was like a guy that was going around preaching. He was not. the Son of God. He was
What's the atheist worldview according to you?
that there's no supernatural or divine or God figures.
Wrong. There's no atheist worldview.
Oh, that is.
Well, no, I'm just saying that. Okay, the atheist. I guess the standard atheist understanding of. I mean, you'd have to ask them like, if you.
And you're going to get different answers from each person who understands the question and is even willing to answer.
Hold on, back to the telephone thing. Do you understand the culture at the time?
Do you?
Yeah, absolutely. It was an oral society that is known to recite with extreme detail and accuracy the stories that of their existence and who they were. So when you talk about the telephone game, you're looking at it from a 20th century view. We don't recite our history through stories as they did. So they were very, very accurate in what they recited. And I'm not talking about just like in scripture. It was history, period. Everything that they had was orally. So they had to be very, very accurate with it. And it was actually considered a sin in most cases to inaccurately present a story, even just talking about history. So the telephone game doesn't apply because that's a 20th century concept that we're pressing on to an ancient oral society.
Well, no, but it wasn't just ancient, because now we've had creations and recreations of that text over and over again that have spread way beyond the time that you're talking about. So that does not apply.
Yeah, but that just means that the original.
Wait a minute. What do you mean creations and recreations?
Well, how many different what's the word I want?
Translation.
Yeah, translations. We have how many translations of that text that could be created and recreated to mean exactly what they wanted to mean?
How many?
What are you talking about?
Isn't that true
How many
for all
translations
historical
change? How many translations change the core message and aren't just differences in dialect?
Oh, say that again.
How many translations change the core message and aren't just differences in dialect?
Well, which message?
About Christ and who he was.
Well, I'm pulling that up right now. So give me a second.
Well, I think a better question would be like, if you look at any historical document from that era, are you as skeptical that it's made up? Because like you'd have to say like, oh, Confucius, yeah, he wasn't a real guy. Like any historical stuff that you have, there's a lot of it before the time of Christ, right? There's like the Sumerian tablets, and then everything from the Sumerian tablets up until Christ. If you're not just like, oh, that could have been a game of telephone. I mean, you take all these other things. It's like, no, seems to somewhat at least they were talking about something. And
the time, the time with Confucius, the time with Confucius, literacy was actually quite common in China.
But what about written? Like, was there?
I just said literacy is common in China at that time. So yeah, I'm talking about written text.
No. Being able to read and write doesn't mean that like inscribed things were often like made.
And so the same can apply for spoken words. Like, not everybody in the society may be the best storyteller. And the fact that it's looked down on to do things or as Eddie's saying, to look down on things as if they're not like it's a big sin to get this stuff wrong, seems to imply that there was a problem with that. Otherwise, why would it even be identified as a sin in the first place?
Well,
Keep in mind that
to intentionally change it or not get the directions. I mean, it did obviously with human error. There are possibilities in human error. So
yeah, that's a really good reason to doubt the accuracy.
Wait.
Right.
Keep in mind, my argument is that he was a person, not that. I'm not even. Again, I'm operating from the atheist. I'm playing devil's advocate, saying like you could literally say all the divine supernatural stuff is just not true, but there was a person that inspired these stories. That's what I'm operating from. So
me too. I'm with him on that. That's I'm not even getting into the supernatural things.
Right. The game of telephone doesn't have anything to do with how the first person who started the chain came up with their message. Right. It has to do with how it became adulterated after the fact. It doesn't have anything to do with the reason the first person that started the chain of the telephone game did so because they wanted to start a myth. That's a whole different discussion about adulteration after passing it through several, layers of translation or generation. That has nothing to do with why they would come up with it in the first place. So that's why I'm invoking all the stuff that no one doubts. It at least had some kind of real world thing. That everyone.
I would even go as far as to argue that the whole New Testament was written before 70 AD. I think there's pretty good reasons to believe that. There is one of the worst things to ever happen to the Jewish people was the destruction of the temple in 70 AD. They literally closed the gates and guarded the city and starved Jews to death and burned the city down. Yet there's no mention in any book through the whole New Testament that those events happened. The second one is Christ foretold the destruction of the temple. And it is just beyond comprehension that they would write all of those books afterwards and not point out the fact that Jesus actually prophesied that the temple would be destroyed in 70 AD. So I think there's very good reasons to believe that the whole New Testament was written even before 70 AD.
But wait, didn't Jesus said that not one stone would be left upon another? That's why they think it was written after the temple was destroyed. Because they were going back and putting a prophecy in as if it happened before.
Right, but they never mentioned the destruction of the temple. So how does that follow?
Because they're not going to say that this is the prophecy and the fulfillment. They're just putting it as if it was made before the events took place.
So it'd be like writing the history of the United States and never putting 9/11 in there. That would be the comparison. It makes
if you were trying to make it look like your what you put in there was before, then yeah, you could do that.
Well, that's a heck of a assertion.
My problem with that
they would write it to try to make it look like it happened between then. I mean, why would you even take that position?
Well, because they went through the Old Testament and looked at the Messiah prophecies, and they integrated some of those into the New Testament. These were not honest actors. They were writing fiction.
Okay, so my question on that is, how couldn't the prevailing Jewish influence just tell them like the Christians were a minority at least up until 100 AD? How were they able to preserve this text when the surrounding culture was Jewish people that could simply say like, I'm not gonna let you get away with leaving this part out. Like I don't like Victor's write the history or whatever. Like yet somehow Christians were able to evade the surrounding cultures until it like took hold enough that the majority was now like part of the.
Well, you're acting like there was a canon in the first century. The Catholic Church took all these assortment of writings and decided hundreds of years after what's canon and what's not.
Well,
they had all kinds of writings to evaluate.
It was actually several different councils. It wasn't just the Catholic Church at one point. It's something that was kind of incorporated over time as what's canon. But going back to them pointing out certain Old Testament prophecies to show that Jesus was in fact who he was them, because they had every predisposition to not believe he was the Messiah, was them trying to show that he actually was the Messiah. So it wasn't so much that they were trying to formulate this letter later on, putting all this stuff in there to make it look like they wrote it at the time of Jesus. I mean, it's clear, the authors are clear that they didn't write it at the time of Jesus.
In a second, I wanted to ask two different points. It's similar related, but it has to do more with the Jesus story itself and why stuff like that would even. I try and ask Christians every time I can. It was one of the points that Randolph made in the debate, which is I do not get that type of literal sacrifice.
Well, there's actually different views on the sacrifice. I mean, if you take it from an original sin and then some type of atonement sacrifice, I reject that. I don't believe that it was an atonement in the way that people who hold to original sin. I don't hold to original sin either. I view it as.
First start?
What's that?
I said that's a good first start. We're on good grounds already.
Yeah, I'm not a typical evangelical Christian either. I take more of and I don't mean this in an arrogant sense. I'm not a scholar, but I take more of the scholarly view on a lot of scripture. I don't take church dogma. I don't accept all of that. I hold to a mere Christianity. I believe what history tells us and, what Christ did in his life and what he taught. I don't care what the church says I have to believe. I don't believe there's a litmus test of beliefs for people to go to heaven. I don't believe in an eternal damnation. I think that annihilationism is more biblical and the more practical view, because eternal torment does not square with, a loving God. It makes no sense that we would be tormented eternally for finite sins. There are arguments for it, but I just don't think they're good enough. And I'm a hopeful universalist, that I hope that universalism is true. I haven't been sold on it, but I believe everyone's going to be judged according to their knowledge, their heart, and their intentions. God is a righteous judge. I think there's going to be a lot of atheists. I think there's going to be a lot of LGBT. I think there's going to be Buddhists. I think there's going to be Hindus, because to say that there's a litmus test of beliefs is basically to earn salvation through works. I have atheist friends I've been friends with for a very long time who have done lots of study in Christianity, and they're just not convinced. They are seeking, but they're just not convinced. And it's hard for me to believe that somebody that's truly looking for truth and is not convinced is going to be condemned for that. It makes no sense. And it doesn't seem to square. I think that the church has done so much disservice to scripture, and there's far too much literalism and far too much dogma involved. And when we strip it of all that, we come away with a message of a Messiah who bridged the gap between imperfection and perfection, and who had taught people to love everyone, to build those relationships, and be the beacon of hope in the world.
And Jesus is still a myth.
That's a very interesting version of Christianity. I mean, it's it's your own beliefs.
And I put because we don't have time tonight. With all respect to Amy's channel, I put the many names / sources in the private chat. And this is something that's just developing, because you got to remember what you have to remember. This is something that's just now becoming thing, because biblical scholars, so to speak, in the past, it was all Christian scholars. right? They were all.
Yeah, that's
They were. Whoa, I'm not done. I'll let you talk. They were all Christian scholars and historians. So there was nobody pushing back on it. So now it's gaining popularity and it's gaining traction because now more and more historians and scholars are like, hold on. We actually don't have a reason to believe in a resurrection because there's not good enough evidence to believe in a resurrection. We don't have good enough reason to believe in a virgin birth because we don't have a good enough reason to believe in a virgin birth. So you can push back all you want and say, where are all these names? Yes, they are small right now because it's a brand new thing. It's a brand new study.
Yeah,
But it's growing because people's intelligence are growing and their willingness to challenge that belief are growing.
all right.
And
So,
I know it's popular and people don't like it, but that is what it is.
all right. So first of all, the claim of the resurrection and virgin birth is different. We're talking about mythicism.
Right.
Second
Thank
of
you.
all, it's not a new thing. Actually, mythicism came up many
Well,
years, like hundreds of years ago.
Right. So can I jump in there? You're right, and I apologize for including them all in one. You're right. So my apology there. But as far as what the depiction of Jesus in the Bible and what we read in the accounts, I'm fringe right now. Like I won't say yes, it is mythological or no, it's not. But I'm very on the edge of saying it's mythological because we have no good reason to support the claim that there was a Jesus that was a divine being.
No.
That's totally fine. We can have that conversation, but that's a different one. We're just talking about that Jesus that the stories are surrounding actually existed. So yes, I agree with you. We can have that conversation about the divinity and the resurrection and
Right.
the miracles. That's a separate conversation.
It always turns into this. It's like he was not even a person, and it's like,
Okay. So
he wasn't a
can I?
son of God. The goalposts always shift to this when you start talking about mythicism every single time.
No, hold on. You've never talked to me.
And I'm going to add in dog too.
Yeah, if I can, because Sunflower, you and I have never
You guys hear my mic?
ever spoken. So let me.
Yeah,
Again, I'm still studying and learning and doing all these things. So just to jump on somebody, I think is ridiculous. But where I'm at is even if you take those things aside, even the life of a single Jesus Christ, I'm having and. Sunflower, you probably I think the other ones know this about me, but I was a Christian for 30 something years.
That's great.
And I'm at the point now in what I'm doing, and I'm studying, I'm researching, that I don't even know
Amy, somebody's backstage.
He's already in.
if you take away the virgin birth and the resurrection, just talking about the life of Jesus and the accounts of the Gospels and what we know about how the Gospels are written and yada, yada, yada. I don't even know if I can count on the actual Jesus and the life of Jesus being real.
Well, then
All right, let me say something real quick and I'll let Sunflower answer.
Okay.
When you say that it's a field that's dominated by Christians, and then you have skepticism because of that, that's actually the genetic fallacy.
No, it's not.
Yes, it absolutely is. When you discount the truth of something because of where it comes, is a genetic fallacy.
No,
So-
Eddie. No. Listen. I have to push back there because when all of the study, when 90% of the study in the field
It
comes,
doesn't matter. It
from
doesn't
one
affect the
side.
truth of it. That's why it's a
No,
genetic
it
fallacy.
does. It does because yes, it does. Absolutely, it does. You can't have a critical and a unbiased position when everybody that's looking into it is coming from one stance.
See, that's pure arrogance to say that
Wait
a
a second,
Christian can't be objective when they're evaluating
Let me chime in.
Yeah.
history, and others can. That's just
Oz,
that's why it's considered a fallacy.
No,
It literally is a fallacy.
No, Eddie, I'm not talking about you. You're taking it personal. I'm not
No,
talking
no,
about.
no, no. I'm talking about Christian historians and biblical experts. Yes,
Yes.
it's dominated by Christians, but
Yes,
that's no
oh,
reason
okay,
to dismiss
so-
the truth of it.
So let's do this. Who's your favorite sports fan or your favorite sports team?
Chicago Bears.
Okay, you're a Chicago's Bears fan. What they tell you all the time, like you're going to line that up. You're going to believe in what they say because it's like, okay. I believe that, and they're going to do this and they're going to do that because that's what they tell me they're going to do. Like they built this roster. They've done this. They've signed these all-stars. Like that's what it's going to happen. Right? Like you believe that, right?
Right. But I can see that. I can see who they've signed. I can look into who it is that they've signed. But the sports analogy is nowhere near now analogous to reality and a salvation and a God. So I would even reject the analogy.
Can I please chime in here, please? Oz, all you have to do is look at the atheist consensus among atheist historians and realize that the consensus among atheist historians and Jewish historians and Muslim historians and every other historian, every denomination of historian, take the consensus on that given demographic. They all agree that there was at least a person of Jesus, whether or not he was supernatural. That blows out your entire argument. Sorry.
Hold on. Sunflower. Up until this last century, yes, absolutely. It would blow
in the 19th century.
Are you good?
No, because you're rambling. You're drunk and rambling. You're drunk and rambling. Honestly,
Let me talk.
You're rambling though. You're.
I'm not rambled all night.
Take a chill pill. He's being concise. Like he's taking a position. The position, like, let's give him a chance to respond to what you've said, which is looking at, like, you lay out this long list of different perspectives. So go ahead, Oz. Like what would be your response to that?
Okay, so up until the last century, yes, I would concede that everything falls in favor of there being a Jesus. But in the last century, there are more and more people with the information we have, the discovery we have, the studies that are being made, that now cast doubt on the existence of a Jesus according to Scripture in the Holy Bible. And if you want to refute that's cool, but the information is there, and I put it in the private chat. Like more and more of these professionals are coming out and saying, no, maybe this wasn't true. Maybe this never happened.
Okay, that didn't actually address my argument. I said if you take the consensus among non-Christian historians, right? So I'm saying take every single atheist historian or whatever, any religion, Hindu, Buddhist, take any non-consensus among the entirety of non-Christian historians. It's always been that at the very least there was a person of Jesus. That's what I'm saying to you. You're not comprehending that. You're saying more and more people are getting on board with mythicism.
No,
that's not relevant. The consensus among non-Christian.
No, you're not listening. You're not listening. That's not what I said.
Among non-Christian historians is and always has been that there was a person that existed that was the Jesus that these stories refer to, whether or not he was divine or God or the Son of God or supernatural or any of that stuff.
Okay, that's not what I said, but okay, bro.
It is. Well, you literally said that because history was
it's not. Like there's some difference here. Okay.
Did I wanted to historians has always been dominated by Christians, and that's because.
Okay, so Sunflower, he did qualify his argument and said until recent memory, like older historians. So like the idea here is that up until recently, then there is this new movement within the historical field. Yes, like we understand you're making that argument. Like here's the consensus.
No, I'm saying the consensus even among non-Christians.
Okay, but as of like he is adding a qualifier to this, and his qualifier is as of recently, there are some historians, Robert Eisenman, Bart Ehrman, Maurice Case, I don't know. Those are like all,
Okay.
but those historians are coming up with a different viewpoint,
Sure.
which I would say is now being drawn into conflict with the consensus. When there's nothing
But
wrong.
how is Bart Ehrman's view going to be
so-
against the consensus?
Well, I don't see how that's even an argument for anything, because I thought the original claim was the only reason that we've always thought that there's been such a consensus on Jesus being at least existing is because the fact that Christians dominated the field of historians and scholars.
Correct.
That's what the actual argument started out as. Then it shifted to like, well, now there's more and more people thinking he wasn't even a person. Like, okay, there's more and more people thinking that like all kinds of weird shit.
Sunflower, and I will still stand by that. Is there are way more Christian biblical historians than there are secular biblical historians. That's a fact. That's a fucking fact.
That's just going to be like a selection bias, but that's not the point, right? The point is that even among agnostic and atheist scholars, right, you're going to have a wide range of consensus that Jesus did in fact exist. So I don't see the point.
Thank you, dog. I really appreciate you.
Yeah, I mean, you're really like dying on a silly hill here, right?
Thank you so much.
If you really, what would be more interesting if rather than making this like silly argument about how like, oh well, the consensus could be wrong or whatever, you just made an argument for like historical skepticism, and so this way we could just dismiss all historical figures, beyond recent time as being unknowable, right? Like we can't know anything about their lives, right?
That's beautiful.
That would be a more interesting argument.
I completely agree with Dog here. Dog is the voice of reason in the
Yes. So Dog, according to you, yes, I agree. We can dismiss Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, all of them, because we have no way to substantiate those claims. So yes, they're all done. We're done.
Okay. Do you also dismiss every historical figure that wasn't
Sunflower, you're done. You agreed with Dog. We're done. We're good.
All right, yeah. Can we move on? Can we just move on from this boring conversation?
Dude?
Yeah, he probably is. But
you have an opiate addiction, Oz, dude. I mean,
all right, hey, all right. Now we're done. Dog, I know is trying to get into the fight here. So, Dog,
hi, Dog.
Yeah. So I wanted to present
for a little bit.
I wanted to present an argument here. So, all right. So many Jews at the time of Jesus's death were very eager for Messiah because of the situation they were in with the Romans. And since Christians are convinced Jesus fulfilled all the prophecies, and considering that they would have had better evidence of Jesus' miracles at the time than we do now, right? Given that they lived at the time and knew the witnesses, right? And given that they also believed the same scriptures, right? And considering how Jews formed the consensus on their previous prophets based on their miraculous deeds, right? It seems like, why didn't they have a consensus that Jesus was the Messiah, right? If they had a consensus that all these prophets were real, even though their miracles were not necessarily as, miraculous or spectacular as rising from the dead, right? And, Christians say, look, Jesus fulfilled all these prophecies. Well, why don't we see a consensus at the time that Jesus was the Messiah, if that was the case? And, given the fact that we're obviously going to be at an epistemic disadvantage than people living at the time and who saw these like 500 witnesses or whatever it would have been, right? It seems like we have a sort of epistemic duty to remain agnostic on the issue, right? Unless we could show that we have more evidence than the people living at the time, right? But clearly we don't have more evidence than the people living at the time in the area, right?
Why does the amount of evidence matter?
Why does the amount of evidence matter? I don't understand. Well, do you not believe that the amount of evidence increases the probability to substantiate a claim?
There was a time. Well, because there was a time in history where people believed that the Earth was flat until it was discovered that it's not. And the same thing happened. The same thing happened with people believing that the Earth was the center of the solar system until they found out that that's not the case. So lots of people can believe stuff that's not true.
No, but the point is that any evidence, right? Look, the point is that they would have had an incentive, right? Just like they had with previous prophets, to verify or falsify whether or not Jesus was the Messiah, right? And considering that they had all the facts there at the time, like at hand, all the witnesses, like everything that they could possibly want, and considering that we don't currently have these things now because of how many, millennia have passed since then, right? It seems like we're going to be at an epistemic disadvantage compared to people living at the time who had access to things like Roman records and the apostles
Sorry,
and all.
we're going to be at a disadvantage for not understanding something that people before us somehow understood because they had more knowledge than we have now.
Yes, right. They had look. Is it easier to analyze a criminal trial, let's say, the truth of a criminal case, like millennia after the witnesses all died, or when the witnesses are still alive, right? It's pretty obvious the answer is going to be, when the witnesses are alive, unless we have something like genetic data, right, which they didn't have at the time. But of course, in the case of Jesus, we don't have any such data, right? We just have the Gospels.
That's a big problem.
And maybe you can. Well, that's what I'm saying, right? That's what I'm saying. That we're at a epistemic disadvantage, right?
Jesus doesn't
so
seem to
if that's the case, then how can we trust what we have now?
That's my that's my argument. Right? I'm saying that we have an epistemic duty to either be agnostic or take like an atheist position, right? Or at the very least, an agnostic position.
Atheism is not a position.
Dog is not a Christian. He's agnostic.
Yeah, so I'm saying that aren't we at an epistemic disadvantage compared to the Palestinian Jews living in ancient Rome-controlled Judea after Jesus' death, right?
I'm not. I think we have a much better understanding of the world now than people had in the past. Like when the Bible was written, people were thinking that they didn't know what the stars in the sky were. They had no clue.
Understanding of the world is an understanding of history, though. I think Dog is saying.
I don't think. Wait, Randolph, can you like repeat my argument back to me so I know that you understand it?
I may not be understanding your argument. That could be because I was disconnected for a while. So maybe I missed
my argument is this, right? Since the Jews at the time, having all that evidence, they didn't come to a consensus on whether or not Jesus was the Messiah. How can we come to that consensus with far less evidence?
My point is always, I come from a Jewish background. At least all my family is Jewish, so I constantly try and understand the Christian perspective because to me it comes from such a, even though they try and tie it together in Judeo-Christian, there really is a lot of subtle differences in the two.
Well, but yeah, I think I still is not getting to what Dog is trying to point out. Dog's point, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dog. Make sure I'm understanding you. Is we're at an evidence we have a disadvantage based off of the evidence that is available to us because of the time that we are currently living in right now, and the consensus. Even if let's say Jesus was real. The issue is they didn't reach a consensus on what, let's just say, his divinity is. So how do we reach that level of divinity? How do we reach that consensus at an evidence disadvantage? Is that correct?
Right. That's exactly correct. Yes.
Okay.
Right. So the argument is simply that, so just like I could say, well, look, there's really no consensus in science on global warming. Right. So I don't want to take a position, right? That would be like, you would agree that that's justifiable, right? I'm just making an analogy, right? In the case of something like science, right? If I wanted to say, look, scientists disagree, I have a lot of epistemic peers or epistemic superiors that disagree on some position. So I'm just going to choose to stay agnostic on it, right? Do you think that's justifiable, right?
I think it's justifiable to be agnostic on anything. If you don't know, you don't know.
Right. So since the people who had the most, let's say, the highest stake in this at the time,
but I also don't
who had the highest access to the evidence, right? Because they had like they knew the apostles, right? It wasn't like you had a big like nation. Like Israel was pretty small. They probably could have, had rabbis or whoever talk to the apostles and figure out the situation, right? So considering that they couldn't come to a consensus, having all that evidence, right? How can we hope to come to the same consensus? Wouldn't it be more reasonable for us to remain agnostic on the issue unless we had some sort of epistemic advantage over people living at the time, which I don't think we actually do, right?
I think this does make a good case for agnosticism. Yes.
Yeah, and
So what about the amount of people that did change?
my argument. So my question is going to be, well, so I do agree that there were Jews at the time who definitely did change their opinion. But my question is going to be, well, why did they change their opinion, and why did people disagree with them, right? And it doesn't seem clear to me to be that the reason they changed their opinion was necessarily because of the evidence, right? We don't have any documents saying like, look, these people, clearly like examined the evidence and
Yeah, I
saw that
would
it was
argue.
wrong.
Yeah.
Right?
So
I would just say that, like, sure, maybe there is good evidence that Jesus was the Messiah. I'm just going to say we're going to be at an epistemic disadvantage here,
right.
right?
So I would say that you're actually making the Christian argument because they had every predisposition to not believe he was the Messiah, given who the Messiah was in the Old Testament. So something happened that changed their perception of who he was, and it had to be something drastic.
Well,
Because
I actually don't know if I agree with that, because I would say that, like, even today there are Jews who claim that a lot of very non-miraculous people are the Messiah. I'm sure, Amy Newman, you've heard of the Lubavitch. I don't know if I want to call them a cult, but they're like a sect of Judaism, right? That worship this like rabbi. Well, not worship, but like really
yeah, but
praise
they're
this
a very
rabbi.
minority. Yeah,
Right, but that's what I mean. It's like, look, if people can come to believe somebody was miraculous, even
so
when
who
they
was
didn't
the Old
perform,
Testament Messiah? Who was the Old Testament Messiah?
well, presumably it would have been a
They haven't.
person
The
who
Jews
came.
don't believe they haven't come yet. They're
Right,
waiting
right,
for
right,
the
right. But what
Messiah
is
to
the
come.
picture?
Why is virginity
Well,
important?
Picture of the Jewish
the
Messiah
Messiah
in
would
the Old
have been,
Testament?
yeah, it would have been a person who came down and basically like established the kingdom of God, established world peace, so on and so forth. Right?
And my joke is, generally speaking, the Jewish Messiah was supposed to be the person who conquered Jerusalem. Therefore, the
Right.
Jewish Messiah is the United Nations,
That's fun.
right?
What was that? I'm sorry. Say that again.
That's fun.
Technically speaking, Jewish people were waiting for the Messiah to conquer and win them back Jerusalem. Using that logic, the Messiah of the Jews is the United Nations.
Okay, so
I
that's
like that.
and I would actually
And
go along with that, because if we look at the text and how the followers of Christ acted, the ones who were Jews, they thought Jesus was going to overthrow the Roman occupation. That's why they followed him, and they argued who was going to sit over on the right hand of Jesus when he comes into his kingdom, because they thought he was going to toss out the Roman Empire, and he was going to rule on earth with. They were going to rule with him on earth. So they had every predisposition to not follow him, because he was not the picture of the Messiah that was painted in the Old Testament, but something convinced them that he was the Messiah.
Yeah, but I'm just going to argue once again, right? They could have been convinced for all sorts of psychological reasons, or
Right,
they
but now
might have
you're
been.
psychoanalyzing first century people. So how do you come to the conclusion that what evidence do you have that they had psychological reasons to accept him as the Messiah?
Yeah, so I'm just going to say that I'm not making a claim that they did accept him as a Messiah on those grounds, right? I'm just saying that it's epistemically possible. And my argument for that would simply be people around today who worship cults, right? And who claim that people are messiahs who are really not like miraculous at all. So now you have this guy who did perhaps perform some sort of miraculous, or let's just say non-ordinary deeds, right? And they claim that he's the Messiah, right? So Like, what's the issue with that?
So it doesn't follow logically that because there are people who think a Messiah is here or a different Messiah is coming, fringe people, cults, and things of this nature, that they thought the same thing. So you're going to have to connect.
I'm
that
not. No,
because
no,
it
but
doesn't follow.
no. But that's. I'm just saying. Given.
Right, you're giving whataboutisms, and it doesn't.
No, that's not a whataboutism. That's simply just saying, look, because we already have examples of where it happens. We can say that, well, this is possible, right? There's no reason for us to presume that it couldn't have happened at the time, right?
So no, I don't think that because we have cults and people who think messiahs are coming or here now. I don't think that's any kind of analogous to who Christ was. No, not at all.
Can I just say, I love to say it often, it's my favorite quote by Joe Rogan, but the difference between a cult and a religion is that in a cult, he knows it's full of shit, and in a religion, he's dead.
Yeah,
Well,
well,
yeah, but I don't hold to a religion.
I've got a follow up to that. The difference between a cult and a religion is tax exempt status.
Oh, well, there you go.
Well, no, but look, my argument isn't, well, because all these cult people believe it, that their cult figure is the Messiah now, means that they necessarily did that back in the day. My argument is simply that it's possible, right?
Yeah, but a lot of things are possible. What are you actually saying when you start stating?
What I'm saying is that we're not gonna. What I'm saying is that, like, unless you can make the case, right, that like he actually was, like, unless you somehow have better evidence that the people living around at the time who didn't believe that.
Yeah, because we have the whole body of knowledge of his life, right? So
you're saying people living at the time didn't have the whole body of knowledge, like
not the ones around him. No. They had word of mouth, and they had who this figure was. It was disrupting society, and it spread by word of mouth who he was. Because it was an oral society, like I said.
Sure.
Now we have Paul's letters. We have we have the Gospels. We have, all of
but what do you think is going to be more reliable? Possibly anonymous Gospels, or like people living at the time.
What does it matter if they're anonymous?
Well, the point is just, right, that we have a prima facie reason, right, to lend more credibility to, like, an eyewitness living at the time, like an apostle, for example, than, let's say, like a book that was written in his name. So maybe by him, maybe not, right?
So we have Paul's writings, who was in the 50s, and he knew personally Peter and James.
Yes.
So, okay, so he was friends of eyewitnesses. So, and given ancient history, that's a gold mine compared to most ancient texts that we have. We don't have.
But my point is that, right, the people at the time had the exact same evidence, if not better, right? And they probably did have better evidence, because, like, the Bible claims there are 500 witnesses. We don't know any of those witnesses. They did, if they existed, right? Like, you think that
right. So when Paul
think about this, right?
So when Paul writes in a contemporary style, like, you can test what I'm saying with these people. So it's obvious that he wrote it at the time that those people were around. So it could have easily been falsified. But we don't have anything written down that falsifies it, his claims.
Right, but no. Well, the point is simply this, right? If they had the access to the same or better, right, and I argue better evidence, right, at the time, right, and couldn't come to a consensus,
what do you consider better evidence?
Well, the fact that they had, like, more witnesses to question, the fact that they had the tomb, the fact that they had,
and we don't have any writings, not a single writing contrary to what's stated in the New Testament.
Sure, but I'm not saying that we have writings contrary to this.
Okay, well, so if it was fabricated or it wasn't factual, given that we have letters back to the 50s, why don't we have a single writing of those people who would the Jews that were there who didn't believe he was the Messiah, or anybody around there? How come we don't have a single writing that contradicts anything that's in the New Testament?
Well, so you think that the church would have preserved things that argued against their
What is
religion?
the church? What is the church?
Church wasn't
Well,
the predominant power during the time. There was
No, they want. Yeah, what is the church? What are you considering the church?
well, I just considered like Christian churches at the time.
Okay, so Pliny
They
the
weren't
Younger
power.
wasn't. Yeah, Pliny the Younger wasn't part of the church, and he wrote about it.
Right.
And then we go to we move on to the other early church fathers who were direct followers of those who followed the apostles. So we have an unbroken chain, and there wasn't a church at the time like we view the church now. As a matter of fact, in Assyria, they argued quite often with churches in other areas about who was the church and who wasn't. So there wasn't this
No, but
unanimous.
you're missing. It doesn't matter who the quote unquote
It
church
doesn't matter
is.
when we have people
Right,
with
I'm
a
just saying.
seamless, we have a seamless, unbroken chain of custody that spread out in various areas. So there wasn't this one predominant church
Sure, but
that
but
controlled
you're
the
missing. But
document.
you're missing the point, right? The point is simply that whatever arguments there were against them wouldn't have been preserved nearly as well.
Why? What evidence do you have to that?
Well, why would they preserve them, right?
No, that's incredulity.
Well,
What evidence
what
do you have?
say?
Yeah.
Like,
What evidence do you have contrary?
Well,
What evidence
if
do
you're
you have
asking me,
that something else wouldn't
I'm
survive?
telling you, right? If you're asking me who "quote unquote" they is, right? People copying and translating the Bible over many generations and
why aren't
preserving the
there
works,
parallel-
which would have been
why
like
aren't there parallel conflicting accounts from the non-Christians, because there's obviously historical accounts from non-Christian civilizations.
Yeah, there's like eight or nine different pieces outside of the Bible
They're
that are
still
considered.
today, and they wrote the Old Testament. So why didn't they have a few documents from when they were still in power? Like, what is this gap period in the early stages of Christ before Christianity took over? Why aren't there? Clearly, we have preserved texts from non-Christian societies.
Sure, sure. I agree. There would have been preserved texts from non-Christian societies. If you just mean like why don't we have arguments against Christianity more generally from people at the time, I would say there probably are, right?
In fact, while we're on the topic,
Where are they at?
I want to know where the body was, which is a common thing that Christians try to use as evidence, but to me is like clear evidence that he didn't go to heaven. Like
Amy, Amy, I love that you asked that, because I'm sitting here thinking the same thing. I love that you said that. So before I go snuggle up and go to bed with my wife, I just want to jump in and ask, where is the body? Where's the body? Because here's what we don't have. We don't have evidence of an actual resurrection. And so you can have your
a body.
Whoa.
What the?
Stop. Everybody stop. You can have your virgin birth. And I'll even concede that Jesus was real. I'll concede that for the conversation. But there is zero, none, not zilch, nothing to demonstrate or prove that an actual resurrection of a physical body ever happened, ever manifested. Nothing.
What would qualify as
Whoa. I'm not done. Like, y'all been talking. I'm not done. There is zero. Nobody watched or witnessed or seen breath going into lungs of a body that was 3 days old, or blood start to pump through a heart in the veins of a body that was 3 days old, dead old. So at that point, it's now game over. It's game over. There's nobody witnessed that. And if you try to whoa, hold on, I'm not done. If you try to give me the 500 witnesses, that was way after the fact. If you try to give me Paul didn't. He had a vision. He might have been hallucinating. I don't know.
You're hallucinating right now, dude.
Whoa. I'm still not done. He might have hallucinated, who knows, but he didn't see a living Christ. So nobody actually knows of a
Support that
resurrection.
claim.
They only guess. They only guess that they saw a resurrected
Support
Christ.
the claim that Paul didn't see.
The weirdest thing I've ever heard.
It's in the Bible. It's in the Bible. It's in the Bible.
Yeah, it says he saw him.
Things on
Support
his
the claim he didn't see him.
It's in the Bible.
No, it says he saw him.
So okay, you could tell me you saw a unicorn tomorrow. That doesn't mean anything.
Oh my!
No, you made the claim.
Oh.
Support the claim.
No, I just did.
No,
I-
you said you didn't see him.
Hang on. What about the appearing to the apostles, not the 500, but just to the apostles? What was it, Acts or something like that? If like it was in like a few weeks afterwards, or something to that effect.
Okay, there's many historians that there's many historians that already throw Acts out of the Bible. They discount Acts altogether. So
Who does? Because that is one of the
Acts is the foundation of Paul.
Yeah,
for Paul, that actually said he saw a vision of Christ, which is what saved him, right?
But I'm actually not talking about Paul. I'm talking about Jesus' appeal to the actual apostle, his disciples.
Okay, and what reference? What are you talking about?
And that's in Acts, if I'm not mistaken. He actually does appear to his disciples following his resurrection.
Yeah, when he went into the house and doubting Thomas said, I won't believe unless I touch the wounds, because he was a skeptic also.
So we're talking. I want to make sure we're on the same page. We're talking about Acts, the same book that talks about people dancing naked and like doing all this crazy shit for God. Is that the same book?
Go cuddle your wife. Go snuggle with your wife, man.
Hey, Sunflower, there's no need for that. Like, so what I would say is like,
hold on, who's the Sunflower guy? Like, he thinks he's a smartass the whole time.
I am a smartass, dude, and I know a dumbass when I hear one, and you are one, dude. You're rambling. You're just talking.
Here we go.
I don't know what you're doing.
You've never spoken to me. So I'll talk to Jim and Eddie that actually want to have conversations, and you can fuck off. So Jim, what were you saying?
Yeah, Sunflower, that ain't cool, man. That's
all right. So let's throw the personal insults aside. Anyway, like that's the second time now, so let's just throw them aside. All right. So as far as when it comes to the book of Acts, like when Jesus appeals to the disciples, all right, following his resurrection, and it's most of the disciples, how are you reconciling that in context of what we're talking about?
Okay, well, and I'm probably going to blow. I know he's muted, but I'm going to blow Sunflower's mind. I have my Bible right here. So, what part of Acts are you talking about?
That Eddie, do you have it on site?
let's see.
It's on Acts.
Amy's got a Bible too.
Yeah, I know people got Bibles, so.
'Cause I know I'm just this complete like dishonest, disingenuous human being.
We don't need that.
No, you're not.
I never said
I don't need
either.
that either.
Oh, I know I'm not. I'm being a smartass.
I never said.
Acts 1:3. After suffering, he presented himself to them and gave many convincing proofs that he was alive. He appeared to them over a period of 40 days and spoke about the kingdom of God. 1:3.
Where was it? Sorry. So you just read. You didn't tell me.
Chapter 1.
Huh?
Chapter 1. Like, it's pretty much right there. There's that one.
Amy should give her commentary on this one after they're done reading it.
Skeptical Bible. Do you have the Skeptic's Bible there?
I
She
do.
does.
I love it.
Okay. Here's the thing. Is when we go to anything written by Paul at this point, I'm
That was
already,
Luke.
what's that?
Acts was written by Luke.
No. Because I've been actually digging this shit the last 2
it
months.
was the second volume. That was Luke, the historian.
Was Was it Luke or was it someone writing under the name Luke?
No, it was Luke.
See, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all. Because I've been digging the Gospels and now the books supposedly written by Paul, and I don't think Acts is written by Paul.
Yeah, it was his second. No, Acts was written by Luke. It was his second volume.
What I'm saying is, I don't believe we know who Acts is written by.
Right, but it starts off with, in my former book, Theophilus, I wrote about all that Jesus began to do and to teach. That was Luke, the Gospel.
That's not what some of my Bible says.
What Bible are you using?
NIV.
Yeah, what does yours say?
You mean just like chapter 1, verse 1?
Yeah.
In my former book, Theophilus.
Yeah, Theophilus. Yeah, that's what I just read.
But hold on, it says nothing about Paul.
So
Luke is the one who wrote it.
It says nothing about Luke. What I'm saying, it says nothing, because a lot of people say it was Paul. Now you're saying it's Luke, which I've heard.
No, it's Luke. The tradition.
Stop. People said Paul originally. Now they're saying Luke, but there's no mention of Luke.
I don't know who said Paul. I've never heard it attributed to Paul.
I that's all I ever heard growing up. Like I said, I was a Christian for 30 years. All I was ever told was Acts was written by Paul.
I've always, I mean, like
Luke's authorship of the third gospel and Acts can be traced back to the middle of the second century.
Your whole life.
Yeah, the Oxford Study Bible, which is done by scholars and not Christians. It's Oxford scholars that do it. They attribute it to Luke also. I've never heard it attributed to Paul.
Okay, that's all I'm telling you right now is that's what I was taught.
Okay,
and I'm willing to learn. And Eddie, you know that more than anybody.
I genuinely haven't, and obviously I'm not an expert. So I mean,
but I don't see. I see Acts, and I don't see either name on there. Period. That's all that matters.
Okay, I mean, my Bible has Luke as, and this is a study Bible as well. So I mean, like, this breaks it out pretty easily.
Yeah, I stick with the Oxford Bible because it's put together by scholars without the a church being on it, because it's not.
That's fair.
Yeah, it's so mine. I mean, the Oxford Bible does differ a bit from theological Bibles because they approach it from more of a non-biased source. There's a lot of Christians that won't accept it.
All right. Well, here's the thing, and this discussion, Acts doesn't really have a lot to do with the birth or crucifixion or resurrection.
It does, because it confirms the resurrection, or it confirms that Christ appeared.
Because the linchpin of this book, is in the four Gospels: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. That's the linchpin of this book.
Actually, no, Paul, their earlier letters are far more reliable when it comes to the history around Christ. Because
then you know what? I wasted my goddamn time and my goddamn money taking Bible fucking courses and fuck this shit.
Totally did.
Because
I love you, Oz.
It doesn't matter what conversation I go into. Like, I actually took classes on this shit, and then people tell me, no, actually the classes you took were wrong. So it's like that just tells me all this shit's bullshit. It's bullshit.
It's
there's
bullshit.
so many people talking that don't know what the hell they're talking about.
You should have read Harry Potter or something else.
But I agree with you. Oz. I agree with you. Christians do the biggest injustice to Christianity because there's so many ignorant ass people who haven't done the due diligence to go out there and speak like, they know what they're talking about and it's the 100% truth, and they really don't know what the hell they're talking about.
No, Eddie, I went and took classes.
No, I agree. Yeah,
I went and took classes. Like, if I went and took classes and you guys are telling me, no, your class is wrong and I paid for them, like, fuck that shit.
No, I took some classes too, and I'll tell you right now, a lot of the shit they taught me was dead freaking wrong when you look at it from an unbiased source and you look at it from a scholarly level.
Cool. So here's what it is. All you and the
You
one
hate God. That's what it is.
Yeah, I hate God because I'm an atheist. So does Amy and Randolph and Dog and James and everybody else. And the other guy, he disappeared.
Sunflower, yeah.
Sunflower disappeared. I guess I just don't know shit. I guess it's still,
A lot of us don't really.
But at the end of the day, if I took all these Bible classes and I'm still wrong, then I think it further proves that your God is just like make believe.
Well, I mean, you're entitled to your view, and I won't denigrate that. It's you know me. I told you before. There was a time I was agnostic, and I absolutely see how somebody can be agnostic or atheist. It just, I mean,
Can win you over.
Come back to reason.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. How can someone literally go and take classes to learn these things and then find out that, oh, no, all the shit you were taught was just bullshit, because there's better ways to teach this Bible.
I
hey,
can only imagine.
Sunflower put an apology in the chat for you, Oz.
What's up?
Sunflower put an apology in the chat for you.
It's okay, Sunflower. We love you here. You're always welcome back.
Yeah, and the truth of the matter is, Oz, really, I mean,
As long as you have pants on.
Yeah, lots of
Because
people
you have pants on.
Lots of people take classes on lots of things, and
Hold on. Before Sunflower goes, I want to say, no worries. No worries. I've encountered way worse, and I love pushback. I do. I enjoy pushback. I enjoy being challenged, and I will never push that away. So you're good. You're good. I appreciate the apology, but no apology needed. We're good.
That's why you're a good dude in my book.
But Jesus is a myth.
Yeah, he is. I know. But let me have my myth, okay?
Amy, do you have anything to sacrifice to the devil tonight?
I don't. We were supposed to find a goat or a lamb or something to sacrifice.
Where's Megan when you need him? I need her.
Our firstborns are going to be gone by tomorrow, but we'll handle it. We'll be good.
Just put blood over your front doorway. You'll be
That cat is hiding right now, Amy. Your cat, he's hiding.
My poor Moonlight. I would sacrifice myself before that cat.
All right, it's my bedtime. I'm going.
I was going to say we made it to the 3-hour mark, guys. I want to give 2 more shout outs. I feel like we should really go out of our way, and Oz and Randolph, I think, to get your websites out there again and your causes, whichever order you guys want to go in first.
Plug yourself, Oz.
Well, I'm always gonna try to play second. Randolph, you there?
That's true. He might have gotten into the weeds. Randolph.
Hey, Canadian, eh? Are you there, Canadian?
The Canadian, hey.
So Randolph is part of the Canadian.
Yeah.
And
so let me do it the best I can. So Randolph is I can't do it.
Yeah, do it, man.
It's part of the CanadianAtheist.com. And if you go check CanadianAtheist.ca, they're trying to normalize atheism in Canada and worldwide.
I think the Canadian authorities got a hold of him. He was speaking out against religion.
Justin Trudeau.
I think it's the mooses. We're like running so many. How many stereotypes can we run in like 3 minutes?
So if you have a whole bunch of mooses, are they Mises?
I guess so.
That's my dad joke for the night. I'm done.
No, go for as many dad jokes as you can.
What are you drinking on, Oz?
Crown Royal.
Man, I found for the first time in Arkansas, Buffalo Trace. I was like a kid at a candy store.
By the way, I just want to take some time to plug a server that I mod called Veritas. It's a Discord server, and we debate religion there a lot. So if you guys want, I'll post it in the YouTube chat.
Yeah,
That
he's got
sounds
pretty good
good.
names on there too.
Send it in private chat, and then I'll send
she'll
it. I
post
gotta
it.
start adding people mods, but yeah, and then we'll start doing that.
The thing is, we actually recently had, let's see who we had. We have Graham Priest, we had Robert Coons, we had Gregory Dawes. We're going to have Russ Schaefer Landau, 23rd, then Alex Malpass, 26th, and then Hedda has some more on the 30th. So
And for
we have a
people
lot
who's
of
not
people.
into philosophy, those are some pretty freaking big names.
Yeah.
Woohoo! That all sounds fun. I need to get more in Discord, so maybe I'll join.
Yeah, you should really get on this. There's a big community on Discord.
Yeah.
You might find some viewers.
We'll do it. We could do an episode. You can teach me how to use Discord, Amy. So I'm too much of a boomer.
I have to
Boomer.
tune into my Gen Z. That's the new thing. And so I'll plug two things, which is that we're going to just be having Skeptic Bible study. I'm still giving a little bit of preparation, but I want to go from cover to cover. So we're going to be doing that. And then this is a nice transition to Tart. There's going to be 2 dates. Our very own Jim, he's going to be on the 22nd.
Jimmy.
Woo! And then I'm going to be following him right back up 2 days later. So there is lots of Tart fun. And to explain all that and more, I'm going to hand it over to Oz.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm looking forward to chopping up with Jim and Amy, and those will be great interviews. And we have some good debates coming up, but I feel like the best thing I can do for the community is on February 20th we're going to have like a promotion or expose for all the channels that are like 3 to 6 months old, and we're just going to help them get more awareness. Like we're going to push their shit forward and help them get more followers, more subscribers, and more attention, and more dialogue going on for atheists and theists. And I'm actually at all this shit we got going on, and I'm excited about a lot of it. That's now officially what I'm most excited about, is promoting other people and helping them grow. So if you don't know about it, now you know about it. And if you want to be a part of it, you can email me, austin@tart.live. And we'd love to have you be a part of that. And we want to help you grow your channel as much as we can.
You want to post that email, Amy? Make sure everybody got it. Austin@Tart Live or Oz@Tart Live.
Yeah. So just Oz at Tart Live?
Austin, like Texas. Austin@Tart.live.
Normalizing atheism.
Yep. And I want to help for the few theist channels that I'm interested in, that I care about, because I care about the people running them. I want to give them love too, because it's a great way to have those conversations and develop that. So we'll have those folks on as well.
And for an atheist show, they do a very fantastic job. Good people, fair and balanced. So it's
It sounds like a great thing what he's doing.
It
sounds
is.
great.
I started my own podcast, and it was mainly because of Oz and Pasta Mike over at the Atheist Roundtable, and they kind of pushed me in that direction. And I had thought about it for a long time, and they kind of gave me the confidence and the exposure to do it. So I did, and I give them a lot of credit for it.
Yep.
Well,
We
that
appreciate
was
that.
awesome. And I think with that, that's going to end our midnight ranting. Is there reliable evidence for God?
No,
As always.
No.
there is for God, but Christianity's in the air.
Man. And
Jesus is a myth.
Yeah, give me my myth.
good night, all.
Good night, everybody. Thanks for watching.